Hello everybody, welcome back to Finnigan 40k. This is the Adepta Sororitas Crusade narrative. Battle 3. Their third battle sees them taking on a massive Tyranid swarm that will be titled The Swarm. These Tyranid models around the table outpoint the Adepta Sororitas and their allies by over 600. There are some handicaps to the Tyranid for this game, though. So, as you may have seen in that intro video, a lot of these models are hand-to-hand combat. The Tyranid are not going to be allowed to do any ranged attacks during this fight, and the reason for that is in the victory indicators. So the victory indicators for this battle are, from the side of the Adepta Sororitas, they must have at least one model, whether that be a Sister of Battle or a Cadian, surviving within this comms array. And then on the flip side, the Tyranid have to kill every single Adepta Sororitas and allied model within the 4 turns. I'm kind of pulling this one from Starship Troopers when the Roughnecks show up on the communications installation and you have like the colonel or the general that's in hiding and he's going around saying, oh, there's bugs in their brain, there's bugs in their brain. So that's what's going to happen here. So the background for this one is the Adepta Sororitas have been sent down to kind of reactivate this comms array. They picked up some Cadian along the way that have been fighting this Tyranid horde, and they have to get the message out. That is going to happen within those 4 turns again, and they also have some allied models here on top of the Cadian to help out, some gun emplacements. So I have a quad autocannon there, which is going to have 3 wounds. It's not going to have any hand-to-hand combat, but it will be able to shoot during the shoot phase. So I'll be doing Adepta Sororitas first, then the allied forces, and I also have a heavy bolter quad, what are they called? Quad launcher, I guess, something like that, but that's not really a quad, it's a double. A tarantula battery, that's what it's called. So heavy bolter tarantula battery there, and then the Cadian. The Force 2 has been buffed up a little bit. The Adepta Sororitas, after the last battle, I used 2 requisition points to pick up an immolator, which does have a small amount of transportation ability. Very cool model. It's got that like sick lead kind of stained glass windows on the top there. And then I also brought in the Zephyrim, which are over here holding it down, kind of facing off against the gargoyles. They are right here. And that has brought this force up to their current point value. So to sum up again, the Tyranid swarm has come down to this planet. They are going to try to get into one of the brains of these troops. So if they do win in those 4 turns and kill every single model, we are going to say that one has kind of been brainwashed or bug washed, if you want to say that, and it's going to send a communication out to the Imperium, letting them know that A, everything's okay. If the Adepta Sororitas and the Cadian live here and hold off for those 4 turns, we're going to say that that's how long it takes to get the comms array working again, and they are going to send a message out to the Imperium and the regions around it asking for support, for backup, and then that will be a victory for the Adepta Sororitas. So let's see if they can go 2-1 here. They lost their first one, won their second, currently 1-1, and we're going to get this one started right now. It is going over to the Adepta Sororitas for their first movement and shoot, and we'll see how this one goes. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. The Adepta Sororitas movement is done for their turn 1. Very, very small movements here. I had the immolator move out a little bit to just make sure that these Ripper Swarms are within range of those immolator pyro flamethrowers. They're massive on the side of this thing. And then over here to get the Stormbolter Rapid Fire 2, I wanted to make sure that I was within 12 inches of the Gene Stealers here. Wow, my camera is really going out of focus. I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's got autofocus on it. I might have to reset it. But yeah, so there's the Rhino. It moved out a little bit, turned around the corner, and it's going to get these Gene Stealers Rapid Fire 2. There was no point of putting the Stormbolter onto the Tyrant Guard because their toughness is insane. The other thing I forgot to mention in that intro video, there are heavy bolters on this tower as well. We're going to say that those are Servitor controlled. So during the shoot phase, it's going to be going Adepta Sororitas, then the allies. Most of the Cadian in here have shotguns and las pistols, so they're not really going to be able to shoot too much, but the heavy bolters are going to be able to shoot. That's going to give us some help. This is going to be a great battle for kill points for the Adepta Sororitas, but I believe there's also going to be a lot of battle scars. They're holding their own right now in that fort. I'm going to get over to the dice tray, roll everything off camera, come back and let you guys see what's happened to the Tyranid. Hopefully I can kill a lot of them here, get some really good rolls, lessen the numbers, because they are going to be inside this facility in no time. And when it gets to hand-to-hand combat, that might be a little bit of an issue. So we'll see. Over the tray, time for some shoots, and I'll come back and show you guys how many Tyranid they've killed, and maybe sum up how much experience points they've received too. Be right back. Yes, and before we start up here with the shoots, I do need to roll that first miracle dice. So I'm using white dice this time for the miracle dice. My black dice are all over the table for wound indicators. I got tons of dice here for the Tyranid too. Let's see what we can get here, and this will be added to my miracle dice pool. A 4, not the worst, not the best. I will take it and move it over here. Sum that up for you guys as the battle moves forward. I was looking as well. I may do some moves just with the Celestian Sacrosancts, with the Zephyrim to make sure that I'm in range with their bolt pistols. I might want to start firing into those gargoyles. May not though, because they might fly in and get the initiative for hand-to-hand combat. I was thinking of moving Morvan Val too, but same kind of thing. If I move her out too quick, it's possible that Swarm Lord and his Tyrant Guard will come in and mess them up. So this is going to be more of kind of a bait and attack and trap. But yeah, I'm going to get back to the shoots here, starting with the Celestian Sacrosancts. And then I'm going to move around the table, make sure I have everybody. I did all the ranges as well to make sure. And then I'll come back and sum that up for you guys. But yeah, we have a 4 in the Miracle Dice pool, and it is off to the shoots for real this time. That concludes Adepta Sororitas turn 1. This whole side here, the Retributors, Celestian Sacrosancts, and Castigator fired down into the Hormagaunts. They were able to kill 2 units. One of those kills went to the Retributors, one went to the Castigator. So a very good start. Not the best round all round. Some pretty poor rolls there again, but definitely tried. The Zephyrim were not in range, and my quad autocannons here fired in, tried to take some wounds off the Raveners. Nothing happened there. I wasn't able to fire. Fidelis from Morvan Val, as well as the Paragon Warsuit that has the heavy bolter, fired into the Tyrant Guard. These things have a toughness of 8. I didn't know it was that high, so it was a very good call that I didn't have the Storm Bolter fire in, but that is going to be a very difficult enemy to kill with the firepower that I have here for the Sisters of Battle. So I might have to lock into hand-to-hand combat with these guys and see what happens. But the Swarm Lord with 3 Tyrant Guard versus Morvan Val and her Paragon Warsuits, if it comes down to that, that's going to be a hell of a scrap. The Rhino here, Storm Bolter fired in. I got its Rapid Fire 2, was not able to hurt any of the Gene Stealers, did not roll well. That was one of my worst rolls for the round. The Battle Sisters here, I think this is, well, it's the Battle Sister squad with the Heavy Flamer, possibly Squad Alpha. They were able to kill the Hormagaunts here. The Mortifier, as well as the Penitent Engine, fired in and were able to kill all but one of the Hormagaunts here. And the only ranged attack here comes from the Repentia Superior that has a bolt pistol. She tried to fire in, just couldn't finish off that last one, so there's still one remaining. These Battle Sisters here with the Heavy Bolter fired into the Gene Stealers. Pretty good round there. They were able to kill 2 of them, and those are 2 wounds apiece. So 4 wounds in total were removed there, which is really great. The Immolator here has some fantastic Flamers, great for skittering enemies. Didn't get a great roll. I was able to kill 1 base of Ripper Swarms, and 1 has 1 wound remaining. But the Screamer Killers over here, also a very powerful unit with hand-to-hand. It's got a very good ranged attack, but as per the rules that I stated at the beginning, there are going to be no ranged attacks from the Tyranid because they do not want to damage the comms array, because they want to get into the brains of one of the survivors and send a message up saying, all is fine here, don't worry. So that is it. It's going back over to the Tyranid here now. And these models move very fast. They're very good in hand-to-hand combat. That's why I selected these models specifically to be kind of that hand-to-hand combat punch, as ranged attacks are not allowed. So we're going to see what happens. Luckily, it's only 4 turns, but that might be enough for the Tyranid to get into the facility. The other rule here, too, is if a Tyranid gets in, they're going to be able to climb up the tower. So as soon as they hit the doors around the back, they'll be able to climb up and get into hand-to-hand combat with those Cadian models, if that is the case, and there's no defenders remaining. So the battle is still very, very new. Just finished off the first turn there for the Adepta Sororitas. I will show you guys the movement for the Tyranid. I don't think any of them are going to be in hand-to-hand combat, but I might be wrong, which means they'll go back over to the Adepta Sororitas for one more kind of shooting match. And yeah, as soon as these models get into hand-to-hand combat, it's going to get pretty interesting, and that's when we'll start getting some dice rolls in the dice tray. Super cool fight, though. The battle scars, too, from the previous battles aren't really playing into this too much because it's not an objective control battle, and also my -1 to move. A lot of models will not be moving in this. I can, but it's best to kind of stay behind their walls and get some extra protection there and some extra range to make sure that the Tyranid, have to climb up over walls to get them. So we'll see how this continues to go. And over to the Tyranid, I will do all of their movements and come back and show you guys where they all are and how much closer they are to the walls of this fortification. And just like that, the Tyranid move for turn 1 is done, and they are literally knocking at the door. The space was taken up very quickly. These models move super fast. Gene Stealers, 8 inches. Raveners, 8 inches. Von Ryan's Leapers, 10 inches. Hormagaunts, 12 inches. Gargoyles, 12 inches. It's very fast. The Tyrant Guard a little bit slower at 6. And then the Swarm Lord is in behind them, but that Rhino is now surrounded by Gene Stealers, Tyranid Warriors, Toxicrene. Gargoyles have moved up here as well with the Tyranid Winged Prime behind them. Raveners here. So those Zephyrim have their hands full. More Hormagaunts here, the ones that were not killed in that last turn, are right up at the wall, so they're all going to be bounding over. So I have to play it super smart here with my Sisters of Battle. Make sure that they get the distance there to continue to do range, because I would not want to take an average Battle Sister versus even a Hormagaunt. And then actually, in one case here, the Hormagaunt that was the lone remaining has jumped into hand-to-hand combat with the Sisters Repentia. So we are going to go to the dice tray to get this first roll done. And we're going to see what happens there. Hopefully no sisters are lost here. They will be able to fight back. But if one lone Hormagaunt can kill one of the Repentia, it's a problem, because that's kind of the only hand-to-hand combat wall there with the Mortifier and the Penitent Engine holding back the Von Ryan's Leapers and the remaining Hormagaunts, and possibly, if they continue moving that way, the Tyranid Warrior. So here we go. Over the dice tray, we'll get this first hand-to-hand combat going. Initiative is Tyranid, and then we'll get it going here and see how many sisters are lost there from the Repentia squad. And then it's back over to the sisters to do their movement. Not much space to move in, but we'll see how they do. And then all the shoots. Okay, here we are. So this is the first Tyranid attack of the game. It is that lone Hormagaunt. They have 3 attacks to start with. Strength 3, so not a crazy strength. But if you have 10 of these, that's 30 attacks coming in. So there's a possibility of getting some lucky rolls with that amount of dice rolls. And this is against the Repentia. So we'll see how it goes here, hitting on a 4+. So that is good for the Battle Sisters. 2 have fallen off. 1 has made it through. Let's see if it wounds. It is a Strength 3 attack against Toughness 3. Needs a 4 to wound. It did not. So that concludes that attack by the Tyranid. And now it moves back over to the Sisters Repentia. I will do that while we're here. So we're going to start up with the Penitent Eviscerator. And that is 8 rolls here, so I'll roll them one at a time. It is hitting on a 4+ and strength 6. So there's the first, second, third, fourth, and then the Repentia Superior is also going to be able to fight. So we needed 4s there, so anything that's not a 4 is removed. So we have 2, 3, 3, 3. So halfway through, we got 4 attacks, strength 6, toughness 3, 2s to wound. That's pretty good. 1 has fallen off. Better rolls than what I was doing with my shoots there. It is a -2 to AP. So that brings up our Hormagaunts actually to a save they cannot make. They do not have an invulnerable. They have a regular 5+, so that would be a 7+. It's not in cover. It is 2 damage per, so that is the end of the Hormagaunt. and our Repentia squad gets their first unit kill. They finished off the Hormagaunts. Might as well, we're starting up the Sisters of Battle turn here after that. So I'm going to remove that lone Hormagaunt model, but first we will get our Miracle Dice roll. So this is the beginning of the second turn now. And it's a 5. I will take it. So currently in the dice pool, we have a 4 and a 5. I was thinking about using that 4 in the last shoot phase there. I think I'm going to need to save those, though, for what's to come. And I'm going to get back to the sisters now. We're going to do their movement, and I will show you guys what they have done. I'm thinking already I'm going to have to start to peel back here with a lot of models, make sure that we're out of range of some melee attacks. But I'll look at the table, come back, and I will sum everything up and show you guys where I've moved them. Adepta Sororitas movement done for turn 2. I have pulled all of the units back pretty much, and they don't really have anywhere else to go. I was hoping this might happen in maybe the 3rd or 4th turn, but there's just too many models around that are in range right now, so I needed to get some space. They are going to be able to shoot here too, which will hopefully be able to thin out their numbers. I forgot to mention too that the Servitor Towers here, I forgot to fire them, so that is again like chess. Didn't work. This one I did fire the Tarantula battery, but it didn't do anything. I fired it into the Raveners and just didn't do much. And then I have to remember to fire these heavy bolters. So there's 4 around that tower. This is an old keep or something. I forget the model piece, but I have to remember to do that this time because it might really help in thinning out some of these numbers and giving them a chance to be able to survive here. But again, forgot. In here as well, the Rhino backed right up. Morven Val and her Paragon of Warsuits have backed up. The Mortifier has backed up. The Penitent Engine has backed up as well to get some firepower down. And then the biggest heroic move here is our Zephyrim. Sisters of Battle have flown in to take on the Gargoyles here. So it is 5 versus 10. They are going to get the initiative though, so we'll see how they do. And hopefully they can cut up some Gargoyles and get a unit point here for themselves, a unit kill point. Sacrosands also have held their ground, and they are waiting to take on these Von Ryan's Leapers. Castigator didn't move either. Retributors are still there too. I want to get that heavy bonus. So yeah, we're going to get to the shoots here. I'm going to do everything off camera. If there is any kind of cool dramatic rolls that I think you guys want to see, I will put the camera back on and we'll get that. If not, I will be right back to show you guys the Tyranid casualties administered by the Sisters of Battle. Adepta Sororitas turn 2 shoot phase is done. We still have the hand-to-hand combat to come. I will be doing that in the tray in just a minute. Remembered to fire all of my support weapons this time. So the quad autocannon fired into the Raveners, was able to kill one of them, which was fantastic. Over here, the Celestine Sacrosands and the Retributors were able to soften up the Von Ryan's Leapers that were here, and then it was actually the Castigator that finished them off, so they are gone. We'll see if this was a really good shoot turn or not. There were some rolls that were missed, but overall I think it went pretty well, and we thinned out a lot of the numbers of the little kind of, chittering Tyranid creatures. So we'll move around the table here to show you guys what else happened. The Tarantula heavy bolters fired down. Nothing happened to the Raveners. I did use them, but nothing happened. The Immolator here was able to kill those remaining Ripper Swarms that were in front of the Screamer Killer. And then I tried to put my heavy bolter onto the Screamer Killer, but it just bounced off the carapace way too thick. Over here, the section of Gene Stealers that used to be 5 are no more. They were taken out by this Battle Sister squad. So some really good kill experience as well. So some unit kills for a lot of my units here too. Sometimes it was their first. I believe these guys might have had one previous, but yeah, there were some units here that got their first kills. That was fantastic. Still a lot of models coming towards the structure, however. Down here, the Mortifier and the Penitent Engine put their firepower into the Hormagaunts and the Von Ryan's Leapers. The Sister Repentia Superior did as well. And these heavy bolters also did some pretty good damage. So the heavy bolters here fired down, hurt one of the Von Ryan's Leapers, and then they were cleaned up by the bolt pistol and the double heavy bolters here from the Mortifier. So there are 2 Von Ryan's Leapers left. One is wounded. The Penitent Engine fired its flamers into the Hormagaunts here, and it was able to kill 3 of them. So there are now 7 models instead of 10, which helps a little bit, but those things are probably going to be on those Sisters of Battle next turn. The Von Rein's Leapers are going to be in the facility too, so this is what I'm saying. We don't know if it was an amazing shoot move until maybe a little bit later. Down here, the Battle Sisters and the Canoness fired into the Tyranid Warriors and actually were able to kill 2 of the models and leave 1 with 1 wound, so that was fantastic. That was mainly bolt guns too in there because they had their rapid fire, so they got a lot of shots in. Down here, the Hive Tyrants were busted up a little bit. The one on the left went from 4 wounds down to 2. They have toughness 8 as well, so that's a pretty good thing. And that came from the Stormbolter, and then also Fidelis here from Morvenval fired in, and we're able to wound them a little bit. So we are going to go to the tray now for this fight. The Zephyrim have the initiative here, so they will be rolling first for that hand-to-hand combat, and I wanted to do that because for a ranged unit against the toughness that's over here, not great with their bolt pistols. So I'm really hoping that they can slice up some gargoyles and then survive any counterattacks if there are any. The Tyranid Winged Prime at the back there, though, is a bit concerning, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, not a bad round. So they were able to kill a lot of models there, get a lot of experience kill points. Now into the hand-to-hand. This is the Zephyrim's first fight, so it's going to be super interesting. I think I said at the beginning of the battle too, I was wrong. I did not use 2 requisition points. I used 1, which was 200 points, and that brought in the Zephyrim and the Immolator, and that came in, I think, at 190, so just 10 points under that. And then I still do have 1 requisition point that I can use to either remove a battle scar or maybe add an additional 200. And by the end of this battle, I'll also get another one. So I'll have 2 requisition points by the end of this. If you guys want to see how all that works and an explanation, again, you can check out my Cadian Narrative Crusade playlist, and it walks through how 10th edition Crusade works in kind of an intro video, and then you'll have an idea. I'm not going to lie, I've been a little bit sloppy with the cards this time around in regards to the data sheets, but I'm kind of tracking as best I can, and I'll make sure that the battle scars are administered. I'm just worried that I may have missed some experience points, which means that their battle honors might not be 100%, but we'll see how this goes, and hopefully I can square that all away. I'll just step out after this battle, kind of line everything up, and we'll see what the Sisters of Battle have, if they have any battle honors yet by the end of this one. But over to the tray, hand-to-hand combat, Zephyrim versus Tyranid Gargoyles. Here we go. Okay, so here we are over at the tray. This is really the first melee kind of hand-to-hand combat fight of this battle. We did have the Hormigaunt leap over there and try to take on the Sisters Repentia, which actually had one of them killed, but this is a legit unit versus unit. The Zephyrim have power weapons, so they all have what seem to be power swords, and again, they're bolt pistols, not the best ranged weapons, so I'm glad I could get them in here into hand-to-hand combat, because I'm thinking that with the amount of attacks they'll be able to do, it's going to help out. So they have 3 attacks per. I also used all of my miracle dice during that shoot. I got a couple where I needed to try to take some wounds off, about 50% success, so I had 2 miracle dice saved up, used them both. So there's nothing here for this melee to help out, but I'm hoping we won't need it. So I'm going to roll each at a time here. So we have 3, and I'll tell you guys what we need there in just a sec after I roll them all. There's 5 models. So there's 2 models, 3 models, 4 models, and 5 models. So to hit with them, they do need a 3+. So anything that's under a 3 is removed. So we have a 1, a 2, and a 2. So all these attacks are through. Pretty good. It is strength 4 versus the Gargoyles toughness 3. So this is going to be pretty good. It's looking like it was a good strategy to send these guys in against the Gargoyles. I keep dropping dice. I have a phone in my other hand for the app. So this is going to be 3s to wound now. That wasn't great. A lot of 2s, a lot of 1s. So we're going to pull these guys out. These were all failed wounds. So they were stabbing, and they have their jetpacks on, so they maybe were trying to get away from some gargoyle attacks coming in, so they weren't able to land those stabs or those slashes. We have 5 through. It is a -2 to AP. And actually, the gargoyles do not have an invulnerable save. They do not have cover, and they usually have a 6+ save. So they are not able to save that because it would be an 8+, which is impossible on a D6. So it's only 1 damage per, but that is 5 wounds. So the Zephyrim have been able to kill 5 of the gargoyle models, just removing them over here, which is great. So now it's 5 on 5. So that was some pretty good kills. They're not going to get any points or anything right now, but they did get some kills there. And it is back over to the gargoyles now. However, the gargoyles only have 1 attack per. So instead of 15 dice coming out here, there is going to be 5. Just going to grab 5 of my purple Tyranid dice here. It's also hitting on a 4+ as opposed to 3+. So hoping that, you know, if you're cheering Sisters of Battle, this isn't a great roll. If you're cheering for your Tyranid, you're hoping that this is a great roll. And only 1 has made it through. I'm just going to check their abilities. I use these guys in the Last Stand series. So Winged Swarm in your shooting phase. Yeah, so this was not a shooting phase. They needed 4+ to hit. There's nothing there to buff them out. So these 4 fall out. The Tyranid Winged Prime is behind them, but he's not attached right now. So that's not going to help if there is any abilities there. The AP is 0. So actually, we have to wound first. Strength 3 versus toughness 3. So I need a 4. And that didn't happen. So that was a great round by the Zephyrim. Their power armor stood strong. They didn't take any wounds. They were able to kill 5 of the gargoyles. There are some units around them, though, and it is going over to the Tyranid here. So we might see the Tyranid Wing Prime jump in there. Also last turn, I don't think, maybe you guys saw it when it was coming around, but a Spore Mine was dropped in also pretty close to them, and it's going to be floating towards them. I had an idea there to try to put that on the Rhino maybe, or a high toughness, high wound model like Morven Val. I don't know if the Spore Mine is going to make it that far, but I'll continue to try to float it. And the Biovore is actually going to be shooting another one in the Tyranid phase. I know this. I said there's no shooting by the Tyranid, but a Spore Mine is a little different because it's like launching an actual creature out. So there's no shooting towards the, you know, the radio tower, the communications array. It's just going to be floating towards a specific target and then exploding. So that will be allowed. But it is back over to the Tyranid. Before we do that, I'm just going to look around if I missed anything else. Nope, we're good. So I'm hoping that that was enough. The Sisters of Battle have not lost any models yet. But there's still a lot of Tyranid. A lot of them are in range to be able to get into hand-to-hand combat. And we're going to see what happens here. So I'll move the Tyranid, come right back, and show you guys how close they are and what kind of hand-to-hand combat they've gotten into with the Sisters of Battle. And there's that pesky little Spore Mine that I forgot to show you guys last time, and what is happening around it is pretty crazy. So let's get to the Tyranid turn 2 movement. The Gargoyles and the Winged Tyranid Prime have gone in against the Zephyrim. They now have the initiative. We're going to see how that goes. There's going to be a lot of rolls in the dice tray here because there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat going on. The Swarm Lord with the Tyrant Guard moved up. They are going to be taking all the fire for their Warlord. That is the Swarm Lord, and getting through that toughness 8 is going to be very difficult. We might have to have Morven Val and the Paragon Warsuits come out from there and try to take these things on next turn if the distance is there. Gene Stealers moved up. They're clawing at this gate to get into the facility. Canoness Veheen, our second in command for this force, is looking down. She knows what's coming in. There's some crazy... I keep forgetting this guy's name. I'll get back to him. But yeah, he's moved in. The Lashing Whips, too. I'm going to say that that's going to be allowed because they're attached to the body there. So if the Canoness is in range, that might actually be our shoot. Because it would be able to, you know, control those very well. So we'll do that in effect. It's not a Venom Thrope. The Venom Thropes are the smaller guys. Toxicrene, that's it. Very, very cool model too. It's got like big bulging like brain sacks on it with, yeah, it's pretty sick. And it's crushed a Blood Angel Terminator too, so that's kind of unfortunate. And that also shows the strength of it. The final Tyranid Warrior is here, 1 wound left, not in line of sight underneath there. The Battle Sisters are not in combat, but that might be next turn if that's the case. And also those Lashing Whips might strike them from the Toxicrene. Over here, the 2 remaining Von Ryan's Leapers have jumped in with the Sisters Repentia. That is going to be a hell of a fight. It sucks that the Von Ryan's Leapers are going to get the initiative there, but I'm hoping those Sisters Repentia will be able to fight back with their Eviscerator swords and take some Von Ryan's Leapers with them. We'll see what happens. Over here, the Hormagaunts that were remaining here have all jumped in at the Sisters of Battle squad. They've got them completely just leapt all over them, and they're slashing and cutting with those big talony claws. Von Ryan's Leapers below as well to clean anything up that might still remain. Ripper Swarm is behind that. The Venom Thropes are here. They move at 6 inches, so quite a bit slower, but they're going to be able to sneak in there too if needed. The Screamer Killer as well is staring the Immolator down. It's not going to be able to use that Bioplasmic Scream, but it has enough wounds and toughness that it might be able to survive those heavy flamers and the heavy bolter, but we will see what happens. Up here, the Tarantula Battery with the double heavy bolters are under attack. So I gave those models 3 wounds. I'm also going to give them a 3+ save because they're probably got like ceramite or some kind of armor around them. But that's going to be a lot of Ravener attacks, so we'll see if it survives that. Gene Stealers here too are very close to the facility. Our Biovore has been back here lobbing Spore Mines. I don't know if I showed you guys, but the second Spore Mine was dropped in here just at the gateway. It's going to try to float in to take out the Penitent Engine maybe, or the Mortifier, so they're going to have to keep an eye on that and maybe use a shoot against it. Back over on this side, we have the other autocannon, gun array here too that's also under attack by the other Raveners, so they don't like it. The Raveners got shot and killed by it last turn, the quad autocannon, so it is going to be under attack by them. Same rule, 3 wounds. I'm going to give it a 3+ save. And then down here, the Celestian Sacrosancts with the Hospitaller have been jumped by a full squad of Hormigants. The Hormigants by themselves aren't too bad, just if it's 1, but if there are 10 of them, that is 30 attacks. So even for Celestian Sacrosancts, that is a hell of a lot of attacks to survive. The Retributors are behind them, but they can't lend a hand right now. They can't shoot down because they might be killing their buddies. Castigators in the same boat. And then these Cadian up here are just trying to fight for their lives. Got a couple injured guys in there that are holding it down. So we'll see what happens there. Also, the Servitor Heavy Bolters are kind of out of commission. This is the Tyranid turn anyway, so they wouldn't be able to shoot. But I'm going to get to the tray, and we're going to start this one up right away for all the hand-to-hand combat. I don't think I'll film all of it, but some of the bigger battles here I definitely will. Yeah, I'm going to get to those support weapons first. Probably won't film those, but I'll let you guys know what happens so I break up the video a little bit. And then we'll move to each of these hand-to-hand combats. Because we haven't been in the dice tray too much. I've been doing a lot of rolls, just not recording them. So this is kind of going to be the meat and potatoes of this fight to show you guys who survives and those heroic counterattacks from the melee and all that good stuff. So let's get to the dice tray. We'll start rolling these hand-to-hands. And hopefully the Sisters of Battle can keep holding off. 2 turns after this one still. You know what? I won't film both gun emplacements, but I want to kind of show you guys. So this is not in the rules of Warhammer 40k at all. I love to make up my own stuff. There's going to be some other battles too where you're going to see other things. This is not a strict, objective control fight. I've got allied models in here. I have servitors behind heavy bolters. So I'm making a narrative out of this. So this is kind of cool. This is a Tarantula heavy bolter. It's been trying to hold its own. The autocannon's been doing better, so I'm hoping the autocannon can survive. They're not able to fight back. It's a gun platform, so it's just sitting there being clawed at. So we're going to see if it survives. The rule too I do is if a model survives a hand-to-hand combat, the attacking models that jump, they kind of fall back to where they were. So it gives them a chance to either get it hand-to-hand, retreat, shoot. Also not really in the rules, but it makes it a lot more fun, makes it a lot more realistic. So we are going to get to the Raveners here. They have the Raveners claws. I'll make up the rules for the Tarantula as we go. I know it has 30k rules. I think it might used to have 40k rules, but we're going to do this anyways. So there's 3 here. It's going to be 9 attacks total, hitting on a 3+. So some of those failed. More. Ooh. So this Tarantula heavy bolter might be okay. So we needed 3 pluses to hit that weapon skill. These are all removed. I'm going to say that it has a toughness 4 because it's a machine. They have a strength 5, so this is going to be 3s to wound. And 1 fell off again, so not too bad. 3 attacks are through, and I've given them that 3+ save. So let's see if it can make some 3s here. So it did save 1. However, 2 are through, and the Ravener claws and talons are 2 damage per. So this is 2/4. that is the end of our Tarantula battery, which is not great for the Sisters of Battle, because that's kind of like, you know, you're picturing, if you guys are Aliens fans, and if you've seen the director's cut, there's the or the extended version, there's like the sentry gun. So it was kind of our sentry gun here, but it has been destroyed and removed. I pulled it out of a bin from somewhere. I'll have to figure out where it's going back to. But that was the first hand-to-hand for this. I'm going to go around the table now. Maybe I'll show you guys just where we're going to go with each one and show you guys the Victorious Raveners and then get back to the tray. There they are. They've destroyed the Tarantula Sentry heavy bolter guns. They still have 3 full wounds apiece. That Castigator is looking pretty juicy next. They might jump on that. We'll see what happens. I'm going to move now to the Celestian Sacrosancts right beside them. I think that's going to be a hell of a fight. So the Hormagaunts will be attacking there. I'll also get the Zephyrim on camera, the Sisters Repentia. I might do the Battle Sisters off camera, as well as the quad autocannons. And then the Repentia Sisters are just right down there. I'm on the other side of the table, so I'm leaning against the 2 Von Rein's Leapers. So I think that's going to be pretty great. We'll see how these Sisters of Battle do and if they can get a counterattack in. So back to the tray. Try to break this up. I know the last 2 videos have been over 2 hours, but to tell you the truth, that's how long it took. So they're pretty big. This one might be a little bit shorter, but we'll see. Over to the dice tray, and we'll see how this one all rolls out. All right, so this is an actual Adepta Sororitas melee now. So the Hormagaunts have the initiative here. They're attacking. This is against the Celestian Sacrosancts, who are being led by the Hospitaller. The Hospitaller, if you guys are new here, she gives the ability to the models in her unit a 5+ feel no pain. So that means if they fail, they're 4+ invulnerable. They still get an additional save of 5+, which is her kind of giving them holy healing and making sure that they're still fighting. And then after their sacred healing as well. So while this model is leading a unit, in your command phase, you can return up to 1 destroyed model, excluding character models, to that unit. If you wish, you can first discard 1 miracle dice. If you do, you can return up to D3 + 1 destroyed models. So I don't have any miracle dice yet. The thing is, they're kind of a double-edged sword. You have to lose units to gain more miracle dice. I don't want to lose any units, but if it is going to do something like the sacred healing, it might be a good thing. But that Hospitaller is a fantastic character, great to be attached to the Celestian Sacrosancts, gives them a lot of staying power, and we're going to see if she can do it right here. So there is a chance that the Hospitaller could get attacked if all of the Celestian Sacrosancts go down here. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case and that they're going to be able to fight back. With that 4+ invulnerable save, they're probably one of the best units here. And then with that additional 5+ feel no pain, that staying power again, incredible. So we're going to get to this one. The Hormagaunts are a full unit of 10 here. I'm just going to count to be sure. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that is 30 dice. I am actually going to grab my red dice because I know there's 20 of those. And I'm going to do 2, 4, 6, 8. And I'm going to grab my white dice, which are usually my act of faith dice. So I hope this isn't going to be a problem in the future, rolling poorly or something. But they're hitting on a 4+. It is 30 attacks. Wow, it looks like actually quite a few fell off. So let's pull these out. Pulling all the 1s, 2s, and 3s out of here. That is 1+. The Hormagaunts need that 4+ to be able to actually attack because they're kind of small creatures, maybe a little bit hyper, trying to sort of stab in that. So yeah, so there's still quite a few through. It is a strength 3 versus a toughness 3. So if this was a Space Marine with a toughness 4, it would be 5s to wound here. In this case, it's 4s. So that makes a huge difference. We're going to see how many attacks actually wound. So here we go. Some more fell off. So we have this pool over here that fell off. And this is usually how I do it. I do it really quick. Apologies if you guys are not tracking those dice. But they needed a 4 because the strength and toughness is the same. So we're going to remove all of those that are not 4s. I will use these for save dice as well. So it is a -1 to AP. The Hormagaunts, again, not bad. This brings the Celestian Sacrosancts up to their 4+ save. Luckily, it's only 1 damage, but let's see how it goes here. And I have no miracle dice to save them. So we currently have 4 that are saved, 4, 5, 5, 6, 3 that are through. 1, 2, 3. Needed 4s to save there due to that -1 to AP. So I'm going to remove these. I get my Feel No Pain 5+. So if any of these are 5s, that means that that model has been saved and just kind of pushed away that wound. That's amazing. So this is why the Hospitaller attached to this unit is so great. So they already have that 4+ invulnerable, which gave them a way better save. And then this helped out immensely. So there's 2 that have been saved. 1 Celestian Sacrosanct has died. That on the side of the Hormagaunts is a good thing because that's less attacks coming from the Celestian Sacrosancts. And that is actually the first Adepta Sororitas model that has been destroyed, but she might be back during the command phase, and this is the only fight that they have this turn. So there's going to be 4 that survive for sure. We're going to be attacking back here now too. So there is the Spear of the Faithful, which is held by the Celestian Sacrosanct Superior. I'm going to roll that right now. 3 pluses. Great roll. It is Strength 5 versus Toughness 3, 3s to wound. So let's see if these guys can get some attacks back here. It's -2 to AP. That actually brings the Hormagaunt up to a 7 save, which it cannot make. It's not in cover. It usually has a 5+, and that is 2 damage per. So we have 4 damage. That has killed 4 of the Hormagaunts that came in initially with the initiative. So that is fantastic. They do not have an ability to come back. They're kind of just the foot soldiers of the Tyranid. And we still have 3 more sisters to go of the Celestian Sacrosancts and the Hospitaller, since she is attached to them. So the Anointed Halberds are 3 attacks as well. So we'll roll them for each of the 3 models remaining. That's not great, but we'll keep going here. Hopefully there'll be enough attacks. So that's 1, 2, and we have 1 more. Okay, so we needed 3s here. That's the 3 attacks. And it is a 3+, so we had a 1, we had a 2, we had 2 1s here. So these have not hit. They either just missed completely or were blocked by one of the, Hormagaunt Talons or something. These are through though. And it is going to be a 3 to wound. So Strength 5 versus Toughness 3 is 3s to wound. And 1 fell off. We're still in pretty good shape. That's 4 attacks that are through. I'm going to grab 4 dice here. It is a -2 to AP. Once again, that is actually a 7+ save, which the Hormagaunts cannot make. So that's 4 more dead automatically. They don't have any Feel No Pain or any, model leading them that buffs them out. So 4 more have been killed. 8 have been killed in total with the counterattack from the Celestian Sacrosancts. There's still 2 remaining, and we still have our good old Hospitaller. So let's see what she can do. Her weapon is the Chirurgeon's Tools, or the Chirurgeon. 3 attacks hitting on a 4+. Wish I had a Miracle Dice still for that, but that's okay. 2 are through. Strength 3, Toughness 3, 4s to wound. 1 fell off. Did get 1 through though. 0 to AP, so the Hormagaunt does get a 5+ save, and it got a 2. So from that, the Hormagaunts were able to kill 1 Celestian Sacrosanct that might be back in no time. Then the Celestian Sacrosancts were able to counterattack and kill every single Hormagaunt except 1. So I'd say that was pretty good. I'll just break this up, show you guys the table there, and then we'll move to the next one. So there they are. Very good job by the Celestian Sacrosancts. They're still in there. Probably going to be getting a model back at the end of the turn there with the Hospitaller. And they've killed 9 of the Hormagaunts that attacked them. And there's 1 remaining. So that is amazing. We're going to be moving over to the next hand-to-hand here. I think I'm going to do the Ravener versus the quad autocannon, but I'll do it off camera. And then the next one we'll get on camera is going to be the Gargoyles versus the Zephyrim plus the Winged Tyranid Prime. That might not go as well. No one is attached to them either. So if they go down, they're going to go down. But they do have some pretty good attacks there if they get a melee counterattack. So we'll see. And then we also have the Battle Sisters over here versus the Hormagaunts. And we have the Sisters Repentia down here versus those Von Ryland Sleepers, which I'm very excited about. So first things first, I'll roll this off camera, and then I will move to this one, and we'll be in the tray in just a sec. All right, so just finished up the two Raveners versus the quad autocannon gun sentry, and the Raveners tore it to pieces. So it is gone. The heavy bolter is gone as well, as we saw earlier in that first roll. Now it is over to the Gargoyles and the winged Tyranid Prime versus the Zephyrim. Thank God there aren't 10 Gargoyles. There's 5 here that are going to be attacking, which is still pretty good. And then the Tyranid Wing Prime is really good. So I was looking at the Wing Tyranid Prime's abilities. It doesn't have anything that really buffs out any units around it, but it does have, if it goes down in combat, it's able to fight one more time. So we'll see what happens here. The wounds are all going to be allocated to the Gargoyles first if there is a counterattack by the Zephyrim, but we first have to see if they're going to survive. So the Gargoyles are attacking with their Blinding Venom. It is hitting on a 4+. 3 fell off, which is great for the Zephyrim. It is strength 3 versus toughness 3, 4s to wound. And another one fell off. No AP. It's a regular save, so this is going to be a 3+ for the Zephyrim with their power armor. And one has died. I'm just going to see if there's a feel no pain or anything. There's no one leading them. Yep, so there's nothing there that's going to give them an additional save. So one Zephyrim has gone down. She is gone for good. There's no bringing her back, as there's no, I don't even know if a Hospitaller can actually lead them. And that is it for the Gargoyles, but there is the Winged Tyranid Prime. It does not have a range attack, so when you see that, you know it's very good at melee. It has 6 attacks here. Just grabbing those dice. Hitting on a 2+. Thank God, a couple ones rolled. It is a strength 6 attack with the prime talons versus toughness 3 of the Zephyrim. So that means 2s to wound. Another one fell off. That's good. So 3 attacks have gone through. It is a minus 1 to AP, which brings the Zephyrim up to a 4+ save. And they failed all of them. So that is the end of our Zephyrim. It is 2 damage per attack with the prime talons, and we have 2, 4, 6 wounds against 4 wounds that remain. So the Zephyrim in their first battle have received a battle scar. They were able to soften up the Gargoyles, so I'm hoping in the long run that is going to help the remainder of their sisters fight this battle. But they have died. We're going to be rolling the miracle dice here in just a sec, because that is a unit where we're allowed to. We couldn't roll one for the 2 sentries, but we will roll our miracle dice here for the Zephyrim. And we got a 2. Not an amazing roll, but I know that we have that ability with Morvan Val where she can discard a dice and get 3 additional attacks. And I hate to say it, but I think that's coming pretty soon, because the Tyranid are closing in with every turn. So we're going to move over. I'll just show you guys the table on the other side there to get a couple shots. I'll probably shoot them both on camera, and I'll move to that right now to show you guys what I'm talking about. So there they are, the Gargoyles and Winged Tyranid Prime just shredded the Zephyrim. I shouldn't say the Gargoyles did, it was the Tyranid Wing Prime that did. We're moving across the facility now to the fight here with the Von Ryan's Leapers taking the initiative over the Sisters Repentia. I'm really hoping the Sisters can fight back here. I want to see what they're capable of doing. They did kill that lone Hormigaunt, got their first kill experience, but I want to be able to see them keep fighting. And then we also have the Battle Sisters here that are completely consumed by what I think is pretty close to a full unit of Hormigaunts. I think there's 6 or 7 of them. And as we saw, that's still going to be a lot of attacks, 3 per model. So if there are 7 there, it's going to be 21 attacks, still nothing to shy away from. So we'll get back over to the tray. I'm going to start up with the Von Ryan's Leapers fighting the Repentia, and then we'll move right over to this one, and we'll see how it goes. This battle is just about half over, and there's still a lot of battle left. All right, so we're back over to the tray, about to start up here. This is the 2 Von Ryan's Leapers against the Repentia. Luckily, there's only 2 of them because they get 6 attacks each. So you can imagine those Hormigaunts having 3 each. This is double that, and these are probably about 2 to 3 times the size of a Hormigaunt. If you guys have seen our Last Stand series, there are 2 sections of the Von Ryan's Leapers in there. I usually pit them against the hand-to-hand specialists of whatever force they're taking on from the side of the Imperium or the Chaos Space Marines or the other Xenos. And they're a great model to kind of gauge another melee unit against. If they survive, how many attacks get through, what someone can do to them. So, they've got a good toughness, really good attacks, strength 5, perfect for fighting Terminators, definitely great for killing Space Marines. And the Battle Sisters here have the 3+ save with the Superior, but it's a 7+ save with the Sisters Repentia. Invulnerable save of 6+, and then they do have a Feel No Pain 5+. So they're used to getting messed up pretty good. That's kind of what they're doing. They're repenting for their sins against humankind and the Emperor, and they want to go down in battle, but they don't want to go down without killing something. So we're going to get going here. We're going to roll for each one, and again, it's good that there's only 2 of them, because if there's 3, it would be 18 attacks. Instead, they're only going to be facing 12. So let's roll for the first one here. 6 attacks coming in from the Leaper's Talons, hitting on a 3+. Okay, that's the first one. Here's the second one. Hopefully you guys can see all that. Yep. So anything that's not a 3 is being removed. So we have 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. So those are all out. These are all through, so that's not good. Strength 5 versus toughness 3. This is going to be 3s to wound. And this is against one of the melee expert squads for the Adepta Sororitas, I would say, and the Sisters Repentia. So 3 have not wounded. These have, though. So it's going to be 4 attacks through. I'm going to grab 4 red dice here to make my saves. So this is the 6+ invulnerable save of the Repentia squad. And then I do get that 5+ Feel No Pain. I just want to make sure. Yep. So it's kind of like 2 saves, but they're also, they're both very high to get. So hoping for 6s here. So 1 has been saved. That is the invulnerable. I do get to roll these because they have that Feel No Pain. So we're looking for 5+ here. Wow, that's not good. So luckily, it's only 1 damage per. If it was more than that, it would be much worse. So that has been saved. 3 attacks have gone through, which means 3 Sisters Repentia have been killed. There is going to be a counterattack here, so I'm very excited for that. All that remains is the Sister Superior and 1 other Repentia. So the Sister Superior there kind of is like whipping them and moving them ahead in battle to make sure that they actually go and die for the Emperor. So those 3 have received his grace, I guess. And they are going to be able to fight back here. So let's see how it goes. We're going to be using the Neural Whip first, which is from the Sister Superior. It is hitting on a 3+. 2 fell off. I don't have a miracle. I have the 1 miracle dice, but it's a 2. It's not high enough. Strength 3, toughness 5, 5s to wound. Neither of those went through. Let's see if this one last Sister Repentia can get an attack here. So this is the Penitent Eviscerator. 2 attacks hitting on a 4+. Both of those are through. She's ready to rock and roll for the Emperor. Strength 6, toughness 5, 3s to wound. Much better. Both of those are through. It is a -2 to AP. That brings the Von Rein's Leaper up to their 6+ invulnerable. 1 has saved. This one, however, has gone through, and that is 2 damage as per the Penitent Eviscerator. So I'm just moving over the table here to see what wounds we're looking at. During the counterattack, the Sister Repentia was actually able to kill one of the Von Rein's Leapers, which is fantastic. So there's 1 Von Rein's Leaper still there, fighting against the Superior and the Sister Repentia. And we're going to move over. I'll show you guys that in just a sec, and then we'll move over to the last hand-to-hand combat fight here. So there they are. Got attacked by 2 Von Rein's Leapers that are probably twice their size. Did kill some of their sisters, but the Sister Superior remains with the Sister Repentia, and she is the one that killed the Von Rein's Leaper with that Penitent Eviscerator. The other Von Rein's Leaper was chucked off the stairs, pushed back, and it remains here. And you know what? Maybe next turn for the sisters, they might be jumping in there for hand-to-hand combat to get some vengeance. But they have to be careful because there is a spore mine here. So I'm going to have to think about that. Last fight here, I'm just looking around the table. You guys are looking with me. Is this one, the Hormagaunts versus the Adepta Sororitas on top of the Nakman structure here. So I'm just going to count up those Hormagaunts, make sure that I have the accurate attacks, and then we're going to get over to the tray again and get this one sorted out. Alrighty, so this is the final melee attack of turn 2 for the Tyranid. Then it goes back over to the Adepta Sororitas. The Battle Sisters here are fighting against 7 Hormagaunts. That's going to be 21 attacks, better than 30. They are being led by the Imagifier too, and the Imagifier has the stanchion of Holy Martyrs. So while this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a save characteristic of 2+, and a 4+ invulnerable save. So that is incredible. That's going to hopefully have them survive these attacks. I don't want to speak too quickly because I might have some terrible rolls, but we'll see how it goes right here. So I'm grabbing 21 dice. Again, I'm going to use my red dice because I know that there's 20 of them right away. And I'll add a purple dice in there. Kind of gross, but there we go. So this is 21 attacks hitting on a 4+. Wow, and a lot did not go through again. I'm not rolling well for the Tyranid. I thought I was rolling really poorly again for the Sisters of Battle, but this is like, woof, it's bad. I'll put a red dice in there for the purple just so it's all the same color. So these are through. It is a strength 3 attack from the Hormagaunts Talons versus toughness 3 of the Battle Sisters, so 4 to wound. And more have fallen off. So those did not wound. These did wound. Keep these dice. -1 to AP. So the sisters usually have that 3+. This is actually going to bring them up to a 4+ invulnerable. Actually a 3+ save because it would be a 2+ regular save. -1 makes it a 3+. So this is going to be 3+ saves, which would usually be a 4+. So here we go. And one sister has gone down, so she has died. The Imagifier is not like the Hospitaller, so one model has been killed here, but the sisters are going to be able to retaliate. I'm just removing that one sister because that is going to affect the amount of counterattack they have. Well, we're going to get to that right now. So first thing is first, I will start with the Imagifier so I don't forget her. She's included in this unit, and if a bunch of wounds had gone through, they have to be allocated to her because she's part of it, but they didn't, luckily. So we have the Imagifier with a close combat weapon. It is 3 attacks hitting on a 4+. 1 is through, 2 are off. Strength 3, toughness 3, 4 to wound. That one did not wound. We do have the Sister Superior here that has a chainsword in this unit. So that is 3 attacks, hitting on a 4+ as well. So 2 are through that time. That's great. The chainsword is 3 strength, toughness 3, 4 to wound. 1 wounded, 1 did not. That gets pulled out. Grab a purple dice to save here. No AP with a chainsword, so it is the Hormagaunts regular 5+. It did not save. It got a 1, so that is 1 Hormagaunt dead. I always forget to remove the model, so I'm going to do that right away. So there's 1 dead Hormagaunt. Hormagaunts are really cool models. They look probably the most like the Xenomorph aliens from the Alien series. They're pretty sick. They die very easily, but if you have a whole swarm of them, they are super cheap, and you can definitely overwhelm enemies. I was hoping to have more in here, but I didn't because I just wanted to... actually, I think that's all the Hormagaunts I have. Unless they're in another bin somewhere. But anyways, so we have the remaining... the Sergeant has gone, or the Superior has gone. 1 has been killed, so we have 8 models remaining that have to attack with their close combat weapons. So I'm going to grab 8 dice here. So that is 3, 6, 8. The close combat weapons are hitting on a 4+. They're not like Space Marines. They don't have 3 attacks per, so they're not superhumans. They're super ladies, but they're not, genetically enhanced too much other than some maybe Terminator legs on them like Canoness Vaheen or something. So these are all through. It is strength 3 versus toughness 3, 4 to wound. Okay, a few fell off there, but I think I'm rolling overall better for the sisters than I am for the Tyranid, which is usually not always the case. As you guys have seen in my past videos, I get very frustrated. So 3 attacks are through. It is 0 AP. So this is going to be 5+ saves again for the Hormagaunts. And 1 has been saved, so 5. These 2, however, have fallen. So 2 more Hormagaunts have been killed in that counterattack by the Sisters of Battle. I am going to remove those models. 1 and 2. And then the remaining Hormagaunts, I'll show you guys in just a sec when we get this done, have been kind of pushed off the tower. Very similar to that Von Rein's Leaper, which is the rules I play with. So they're back down. They're out of line of sight. Definitely in range, but the Sisters would have to jump down off the tower to be able to get them. And I'll show you guys the aftermath of that turn right now. So we just watched these Sisters get attacked by 7 Hormagaunts. They were able to fight back. They were able to kill a lot of them. 1 Sister was lost, and there are the remaining 4 Hormagaunts that remain. Over here, we had that amazing stand by the Sister Superior here and the Sister Repentia. They were able to kill one of the Von Rein's Leapers and repel the other one. Over here, things are looking a little dire, but we will get to that after, as the Adepta Sororitas have their next turn coming up. Down here, we lost the entire Zephyrim squad. They were able to kill those 5 gargoyles during their previous turn, but it wasn't enough. And the gargoyles, well, with the Winged Tyranid Prime, he was the one that actually killed them. And then down here, another great stand. So the Hormagaunts jumped in against the Celestian Sacrosanct, a full 10 of them with 30 wounds. And they were able to counterattack and kill 9 of the 10 Hormagaunts. So the Celestian Sacrosancts are going to see if they can get another Sister back here right now with the Hospitaler's ability. And we're also going to be rolling our next Miracle Dice. So here we go. All right, so this is the start of turn 3 for the Adepta Sororitas. There is going to be 1 full turn after this one. So we are going to be doing the Adepta Sororitas Miracle Dice roll. We're going to be seeing if the Celestian Sacrosancts are getting a model back from the Hospitaler right now. Then it will be the Adepta Sororitas move, shoot, any hand-to-hand, then back over to the Tyranid, rinse and repeat. So this is halfway through the battle. Going to do the Miracle Dice roll first. Another 2. So I got a 2 there for the Zephyrim. And I got a 2 here. So I'm going to be probably trying to discard those because they're not going to be worth much to maybe get Fidelis jacked up there. That is Marvin Ball's massive heavy bolter on her Paragon suit. Next, though, is the Sacred Healing. So I'll read this again. I read it last battle, and I don't know if I've read it yet this battle, so I'll make sure that it's covered. So while this model is leading a unit, that is the Hospitaler leading the Celestian Sacrosancts, in your command phase, which is now, you can return up to 1 destroyed model. If you wish, you can first discard 1 Miracle Dice. If you do, you can return up to D3 plus 1 destroyed models to that unit instead. So this is another great ability if you get a low Miracle Dice roll that you can use it. But with the Sacred Healing, I am guaranteed. So while this model is leading a unit, which is still the case, in your command phase, you can return up to 1 destroyed model. So no roll necessary, no discarding of any Miracle Dice. I have my Celestian Sacrosancts back up to 5 with the Hospitaler leading them. I think they're going to be able to hopefully clean up this Hormagaunt this turn. We're going to see if I shoot it, though, or if I want to get into hand-to-hand with it. I might shoot it to keep some range because those Raveners are very close on both sides. And they were able to handle 10 Hormagaunts, but handling 5 Raveners is a different story. The Retributors are behind them, though. The Castigator is also there, so I'm hoping that they can maybe kill a few of the Ravener models, but I'll step away. I'm going to do some strategy here. It's actually pretty late at night, so I'm going to take a break, start this one back up tomorrow. So for you guys, again, it'll be a couple seconds. For me, it's going to be, 8 to 10 hours if I get some good sleep in. And we're going to keep this one rolling. I love these kind of battles. They're so much fun in a facility, holding it off, just like Starship Troopers, trying to kind of do that with this fight. So more tomorrow for you guys, more in a couple seconds. Thank you guys again. We'll be right back. I think this is going to be a pretty busy turn 3. So just finished all the movements there for the Adepta Sororitas. The Battle Sister squad here is going to be firing down at those Von Rein's Leapers. We have the Immolator still here, going to be firing at the Screamer Killer. The Penitent Engine has kind of come around the corner, so it's got those Hormagaunts line of sight for its Flamers. Here, the final Von Rein's Leaper on this side has been jumped by the Mortifier, the Repentia Superior, and the Sister Repentia. This little guy is tricky, though, because he's going to probably float in there, so we're going to have to see what happens. Maybe one of the heavy bolters can take him out. The Rhino's backed in here, and Morvenn Vahl and her Paragon Warsuits have moved right up to the wall to face off against the Tyrant Guard and the Swarm Lord. That's going to be insane if it gets into hand-to-hand combat, but they do have the range right now, so they're going to be firing in at them to try to soften them up. The Canoness saw that this Tyranid warrior has 1 wound left, so she actually jumped all the way off the tower, down, landed on that Terminator leg on her, and she's in hand-to-hand combat, so that's going to be a fun one to roll off. And then we do have the Toxic Green back here as well. That is getting very close. And then on this side, we still have those gargoyles. No one to really take care of them right now, so they're going to be flying in. My plan over here, too, is kind of going to be a bit of a cross shoot. So the Castigator has 3 Raveners behind it, but the Retributors are going to be firing into those. The Castigator is going to be firing into these Raveners. And then we have the Celestian Sacrosancts fighting that final Hormigaunt. I'm not too worried about that fight, but if these Raveners survive, the turn 3 for the Tyranid after the Adepta Sororitas might be crazy. So I'm going to be rolling a lot in the tray. I think I will probably get a few on camera too, like Fidelis for Morvenn Vahl and her Paragon Warsuits versus the Tyrant Guard and the Swarm Lord. I think is going to be very, very cool. But a lot of models here, they're starting to outnumber the Adepta Sororitas, and there's still tons of models moving around here. I'm hoping that those 4 turns, they can hold them off and win this one, but it's still kind of anyone's battle right now. Definitely going to go back to the table here in a sec. I'm through about half of the shoots for the Adepta Sororitas. There has been no wounds delivered yet to the Tyranid. The Tyranid models that remain now, since a lot of the lighter models like the Hormigaunts and Gene Stealers are starting to get killed, the remaining models have mostly a toughness of 5 and higher, so very, very difficult to affect them with Storm Bolters, even Heavy Bolters. So the entire fire tower there with the Servitors fired down. Some shots didn't make it at all, and then the ones that did make it didn't wound. But I wanted to get on camera here the Retributors against the 2 Raveners, and then I'm also going to get the Castigator against the Castigator against the 2 Raveners and the Retributors against the 3 Raveners. This is extremely important because if these Raveners come in at full strength, they're right in the facility, and they're going to be jumping the Castigator, the Celestian Sacrosancts, possibly the Rhino, the Retributors, so there's a whole bunch of units kind of in their wake. So we're going to start up here with the Retributors firing into the 3 Raveners. So we're going to use the combi weapon first for the Sister Superior here. It is hitting on a 4+. That is a 1. Need these to hit. I need these to hit. Okay, Heavy Bolter. We're going to fire into those Raveners. Need a 3+ here, so 1 fell off. My Miracle Dice as well. I have 2 2s right now. I'm probably going to be discarding one of those for Morvenn Vahl, and then possibly discarding one, mattering how the Celestian Sacrosancts do here in some time, but there's nothing high enough to really help me with any shoots either. So this is a Strength 5 weapon versus Toughness 5, Force to Wound. Another one fell off. I need these to hit. -1, it brings the Ravener up to a 5+, however, and it was a 2, so that's a bonus. That is 2 wounds through. And I am going to be reducing one of the Raveners from 3 to 1 wound, and that is the unit that has 3 Raveners remaining. These are the big ones, and they have to hit here. So I have my Ministorm Heavy Flamer and my double Multi-Meltas. So the Ministorm Heavy Flamer hits automatically. We just have to see how many hits it gets with the D6. 2, not great. Strength 6, Toughness 5, 3s to wound. Fuck. I'm losing 1 dice every single time here. -1 to AP, so that's going to be another 5 save for the Ravener. Didn't save it. It's only 1 damage, so they have killed one of the Raveners. Can you imagine if I was hitting with every single shot that I take? Like, it would be lights out with these heavy weapons. There we go. And the Ministorm Heavy Flamer does not have a heavy profile either. The Multi-Meltas do, however. They're outside of the range. I'm just going to measure here because it gets a melt at 2 damage if they're within 9 inches of this weapon. And 1 definitely is, so I'm going to get a melt at 2 from one of them. And that just means the damages that do go through, you still have to hit, you still have to wound, but the damage gets 2 added to it. So I'll start with the first Multi-Melta here. It's hitting on a 3+ actually because it is a heavy profile. That might have actually been the case for the Heavy Bolter, but too late. And then this one too. Yeah, so 2 more fell off. I don't have the dice to be able to roll that from the miracle pool. So 50% of the multi-melta has fired. It is strength 9 versus toughness 5, 3s to wound. Wow. And another one fell off. I'm definitely going to say that this is the multi-melta that is closer, that has hit. It's a -4 to AP2. So that does not give the Ravener a save. The Ravener does not have an invulnerable save. It has a 4+. That brings it up to a 8+, which is impossible on a D6. So now it's as simple as rolling how much damage is going to happen and adding 2 to that. That's what we needed. So that is 7 damage. The multi-melta has blapped against the Raveners. They're not able to save, and both of them have been killed. So that was huge because they were going to be jumping down on that Castigator next turn. So that is some more big models out. I'm just going to mark here on my sheet too that the Retributors did get a unit kill. Want to make sure that I'm tracking these in real time because I missed these. I've missed them quite a bit. So that one is done. Show you guys the aftermath of that, and then we'll get over to the Castigator. All right, so that was where those Raveners were. They were looming right over the Castigator, and our Retributors were able to step up. Not the greatest rolls, as you guys saw, but they were able to take care of business. Now we have the Castigator with its Castigator battle cannon and its 3 heavy bolters. So the sponson-mounted ones and then the hull-mounted, firing into the remaining 2 Raveners up here. They're both healthy. They have 3 wounds apiece, and I'm hoping that I can take them out with the Castigator. So back to the tray. We'll get that done. And then I'm going to finish off any other shoots off camera, and then we'll come back and start doing the hand-to-hand. Might still also get Morvenn Vahl and the Paragon Warsuits firing into the Tyrant Guard and the Swarm Lord. That'll be very interesting to see how those multi-meltas do against the insane toughness of those Tyrant Guards. But yeah, over the tray for the Castigator, and then we'll come back and sum that one up and then keep shooting here. All right, so it is Castigator time. Castigator up to the plate. I'm firing first with a Castigator battle cannon, D6 plus 3. So I'm getting 3 plus 3. That's going to be 6 dice in total. There we go. It is hitting on a 3+. Oof, 50% fell off again. It's only a 3+. Come on, sisters, you can do it. Strength 10 though, toughness 5, 2s to wound. I swear if I'd rolled a 1 there, I would be pissed. So, all right, it is -1 to AP. That brings the Raveners up to a 5+. 1 was saved, 2 have gone through, and it is 3 damage per. So that has actually killed those Castigator, or killed the Raveners. The Castigator has won that one as well and done its job. So that is looking really good. And that is where those Raveners used to be. The Castigator did them away with the battle cannon. This thing's actually been doing very well. It's already got 6 unit kills throughout the Crusade. We've had 3 battles, so that's averaging 2 units, not just individual characters, but 2 unit kills a battle, which is fantastic. I am going to keep rolling here. I'm going to get the other shoots on camera right now, like the Battle Sisters over here, so right off camera, and then I'm going to get Morvenn Vahl and her Paragon Warsuits on camera. So I'll keep rolling around. This way it'll kind of break up, get us out of the dice tray, so we're not staring at that all the time. So I'll do some shoots off camera, sum those up, and then come back and we'll get over to Morvenn Vahl and what I'm going to do with her and her Paragon Warsuit unit. All right, let's move around this table. The Adepta Sororitas turn 3 shoot is almost done. We still have Morvenn Vahl and her Paragon Warsuits, but I wanted to sum everything up. So I just finished the Immolator against the Screamer Killer. The Immolator Flamers and the Heavy Bolter were able to strip 3 wounds off of the Screamer Killer, so it is down to 7, but the Screamer Killer is very close, and it might try to shred that tank apart next turn. The Battle Sisters here, terrible rolls, but they were able to kill one of the Von Rein's Leapers and wound another, but they are definitely going to leap up there. There's also a lone Hormigaunt here. The Penitent Engine was able to burn 3 of the 4 remaining, but there is 1 left. Going to get this going here in a sec as well with the hand-to-hand combat. There's this as well, Canoness Vahim, but that is for the melee. The Battle Sister squad up here tried to fire down into the Toxicrene, and the Toxicrene's toughness is way too high. It also has a 9-inch tendril attack. I'm going to give it that ranged attack because it is attached to its body. It's not like a ranged weapon in regard to a gun or some kind of biological creature that fires out like a flesh boar. This is still to come. We're going to get that in the tray in just a sec. Morven Val versus the Tyrant Guard and the Swarm Lord with her Paragon Warsuits. The Gargoyles, no one could shoot at them. No one's really in range. There's not enough models left, so they're going to be flying into the facility here next turn. Also have the Celestine Sacrosanct versus the Hormigaunt. Fantastic work here that we saw at the beginning of the turn for the range. We had the Retributors take out the 3 Raveners up here, and we had the Castigator finish off the 2 Raveners who were on top of there, so that was fantastic. The Tower Heavy Bolters were not able to do much. And then again, like the other side, too many enemy models. These Gargoyles or Gene Stealers do not have any models that can shoot at them right now. There's just not enough Adepta Sororitas, so they're going to be jumping in the facility here as well. And we have our little Biovore buddy here that's going to be launching another Spore Mine. The Spore Mine also on the far side there by the Penitent Engine, and the Mortifier is going to be floating in there, and it's probably going to be taking some wounds next turn here, as it has kind of an auto kill mattering on what I roll. So we'll get that in the camera as well in the dice tray. But yeah, we're going to go do the shoot now for Morven Val, Paragon Warsuits versus the Tyrant Guard and that Swarm Lord, hoping that their weapons are going to be strong enough to do at least a little bit of damage to these Tyrant Guard and soften them up. One of them is wounded, has 2 wounds, so let's get to the tray and roll this one out and see if they can kill any of these things. All right, so we're going to start up here with the Paragon Warsuits, and it is going to be the Paragon Warsuit Superior with her Heavy Bolter. It is hitting on a 3+. All of those are through. Fantastic. Strength 5 against toughness 8. You'll need 5s to wound, though. Ooh, got a couple through. The rolls are getting a little better. -1 to AP, so that brings the Tyrant Guard up to a 4+ save. Saved 1. 2 more wounds have been removed, which means the Tyrant Guard on the left has been killed. So that is fantastic. That is a very tough model to kill, and I got some lucky rolls there, which is exactly what was needed. So next up are the heavy, the multi-meltas. I just have to measure here to make sure that the Melta 2 is going to be actioned. So usually has a 18-inch range, so if it's within 9, they get a Melta 2. The Tyrant Guard are smart. The Hive Mind has been telling them to stay back, so they are not in that Melta 2 range. But the multi-meltas still get to fire here. So it's hitting on a 3+. And we'll do the other one. So 1 has fallen off. Strength 9 versus toughness 8. So these are the kind of weapons we need against these things. It's going to be a 3 to wound. 2 are through. -4 to AP. That actually brings the Tyrant Guard up to a save they cannot make. I'm just seeing if they have a Feel No Pain. They do not. So what that does is the -4 to AP would bring them to a 7+ save, so they cannot make that save. This Melta stuff is like, you know, as hot as the sun. So even though these Tyrant Guard are super heavily armored, doesn't matter. The damage coming here automatically is going to be whatever these D6s roll. And that is amazing. So we have 6. That means that another Tyrant Guard has gone down. They have 4 wounds apiece. And then 1 is down to 2 wounds. So let us see if our Warlord, Morven Val, can take out this last Tyrant Guard. The thing with Morven Val too, I will read that ability again just to make sure that I am following the rules properly. So it is the Righteous Repugnance. Each time this model's unit is selected to shoot or fight, you can discard 1 miracle dice. If you do that until the end of the phase, add 3 attacks to the characteristics of Fidelis and the Lance of Illumination. This is not just good for the shoot here, but also if they do get jumped by the Tyrant Guard and the Swarm Lord, this will carry over as well because it is for the end of the phase. So I'm going to be discarding my 2 that I rolled, getting 3 additional attacks with Fidelis. So that has been removed. I have 1, 2 left in my Miracle Dice pool. Fidelis now, instead of 3 attacks, has 6 attacks, which gives me a much better chance of hopefully killing this Tyrant Guard. So we're hitting on a 2+ here. Had to get 2 1s, eh? They couldn't be 2s. It is strength 6, so very good for a heavy bolter, but it is a toughness 8 that they're trying to penetrate, so this is going to be 5s to wound. And only 1 made it through there, so from 6 shots to 1, it is a -1 to AP though. The Tyrant Guard do not have that invulnerable save, so it's going to be a 4+. It saved it. So Fidelis tried, just didn't have that same kind of punch as the Multi-Melta. And the Tyrant Guard has survived with 2 wounds. The Swarm Lord still has its full 10. And we're going to keep going around here for hand-to-hand combat. If there's anything that I want to get on camera, I'll show you guys. But I might just sum everything up here in just a sec. All right, so we do have the Canoness locked in hand-to-hand combat. I just finished the Celestine Sacrosanct. They were able to kill that lone Hormigaunt. Only 1 model was needed. The Sacrosanct Superior with her spear. The Canoness here is fighting a Tyranid warrior that has 1 wound, but this thing is still very strong and potent. So we're going to be using the Blessed Blade of the Canoness first, hitting on a 2+. So 2 fell off, 50%. That is strength 6 though versus toughness 5, so 3s to wound. Got both. That's fantastic. -2 to AP. That does bring the Tyranid warrior up to a 6+. It does not have an invulnerable. And you know what? The Canoness has killed the Tyranid warrior, so she has done great. That is going to be a unit kill for her as well. She used to be the warlord of this force until Morvenn Vahl showed up. And yeah, she saw kind of a wounded Tyranid warrior, said, screw it, I'll do this myself. Jumped down, finished it off, and good job, Canoness Vaheen. So she gets a unit kill, and I'll keep moving here to get the rest of the hand-to-hand combat done, and I'll come back in just a sec to sum everything up. There we go. Melee hand-to-hand combat is done for turn 3 of the Adepta Sororitas. The Sacrosancts here were able to kill that lone Hormigaunt pretty easily, so that was great. There are still some units coming towards them, though, that they're going to have to worry about. Over here, we saw that Morvenn Vahl and her Paragon Warsuits did a great amount of damage to the Tyrant Guard. Swarm Lord is still at full strength. There's also a floating little Spore Mine back there, so we'll see what happens with that. But a fantastic round there. Canoness Vaheen, I actually was checking it out. That was her first unit kill, so that's great for her as the Warlord, or the ex-Warlord, 2IC. She killed the Tyranid Warrior. Over here, the Mortifier used its twin Buzz Blades to cut into the Von Rein's Leaper. The sister Repentia and the Repentia Superior were not necessary. There's that Penitent War Engine again that was able to kill the Hormigaunt. And now it moves back over to the Tyranid. And they do have some models left. That was a very, very good turn, though, for the Adepta Sororitas. So that's fantastic that they were able to kill that many. But there's still a lot of Tyranid around, and they're definitely within range to get into hand-to-hand combat. So I'll do their move, come on back, show you guys what the Tyranid and the Hive Mind have decided to do, and see if these Adepta Sororitas can get a victor here in the next couple turns. But it's going to be tight. Move done for turn 3. Tyranid. The Biovore fired a Spore Mine here, 9 inches out from the Castigator. The Screamer Killer has smashed the wall down and is in hand-to-hand combat with the Immolator. That may not go well for the Immolator. Luckily, the Screamer Killer is not at its full wounds, but we will see how that goes. Over here, the last Hormigaunt that was not killed by the Penitent Engine last turn, as well as the Von Rein's Leapers, jumped in to the Battle Sister squad. They are locked in hand-to-hand combat. The Spore Mine here has floated its 3 inches. It is going to explode. We're going to get that in the tray in just a sec to start the hand-to-hand combat phase off to make sure that I don't forget this. These 3 are not harmed right now. The Gene Stealers have come around the wall and they're staring down the Canoness. She was able to kill that Tyranid warrior, but against 5 Gene Stealers, a little bit of a higher order. The Toxicrene here used its 8 inches to climb on top of the tower. It is locked into hand-to-hand combat with this Battle Sister squad. They do not have any support. This one luckily does have the Magifier, so that is going to help their saves substantially. But this here is going to be another story, and we are going to see what this Toxicrene is capable of doing. It's got the statistics of a tank, but it's got some melee as well. Over here, the Tyrant Guard moved up with the Swarm Lord. They are staring down Morvenn Vahl, who is the warlord of this Adepta Sororitas army. It looks like they're just in range there, that they'd probably be able to get into hand-to-hand combat first. And I think that's what I'm going to do next turn, as there are no ranged attacks required. But that Swarm Lord is a very, very tough model to kill, so we'll see how that goes. That is still quite a bit into the future, however. And then we have the Spore Mine here that floated, nothing really around it. The Gene Stealer or the gargoyles here with the Winged Tyranid Prime flew in. They knocked that wall off, and they're in the facility now, moving 12 inches. They can probably actually get into the tower where the Imperial Guardsmen are. See how that goes. The Celestian Sacrosancts, maybe the only unit that can stop them. We'll have to see if they're within range. And then we do have the Retributors and the Castigator. But the Castigator, again, has enemies behind it. There is a pack of Gene Stealers in behind. And then again, to sum up here, we have that little spore mine that was fired in at the beginning. So I'm going to go to the dice tray. We're going to roll for that spore mine, see if it's able to wound the Penitent Engine at all. And then we're going to get into these hand-to-hand combats that are going all over the facility here. And then come back and I'll probably break those down. I won't shoot them all in the dice tray, but we'll shoot a few and I'll sum everything up as we go. Okay, so to start this off, we are going to be using the Spore Mine's ability, Floating Death. If you guys have seen the Last Stand series, you have an idea as to how this works. For anyone new, I'm going to let you all know what the ability is and what it's capable of doing. It does deliver mortal wounds, which are not savable, at least for the Penitent Engine. So there's a possibility that it could go down here. We'll have to see what rules come about. But here is the ability. So Floating Death. Each time this unit or an enemy unit ends a move, for each model in this unit that is within 3 inches of one or more enemy units, select one of those enemy units. So in this case, it is the Penitent Engine. That model in this unit is destroyed. Then roll 1d6. On a 2 to 5, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So we are going to roll here. If we're cheering for the Adepta Sororitas, you want to see a 1. If you're cheering for the Tyranid, you definitely want to see a 6, but a 2 to 5 would also do. So here we go. Okay, so it is a 4, not the worst case or best case scenario. So the Spore Mine explodes. It's got like a kind of a brain knot that explodes with a bunch of chitinous bone and stuff. So since this is a 2 to 5, the enemy unit, in this case being the Penitent Engine, suffers 1 mortal wound. So the Penitent Engine usually has 5 wounds. It has been brought down to 4. Just going to the other side of the table to flip that around, remove the Spore Mine. So that could have been worse. And it isn't actually able to kill her. So I was a little bit off. Because you'd need a d6 to be able to kill the 5 wounds. But that is it for that. The Spore Mine was able to do a little bit of damage, and we'll see if that plays into the battle later on. I'm now going to shoot a few things, or roll a few things off camera, and then I'll come back to do anything that's pretty dramatic or cool. All right, so we're still moving through the melee here for the Tyranid turn 3. I wanted to get this one on camera because this is a Screamer Killer, so it's a form of Carnifex, sort of an older variant, versus a tank, which is an Immolator. So I'm going to see how the Screamer Killer does. It has 10 attacks in total, so I'm just going to grab my dice here. 3, 6, 9, 10. It's hitting on a 3+. So this is a living creature, alien life form that's massive. It's got a strength 10 attack versus a toughness 10 of the Immolator, so these are all through. We need 4s to wound. Just can see if it has any abilities here too. Okay, so any 4s here have hit, and that is actually quite a few that are through from that. So we have 5 hits through. So 4, 4, 6, 6, 6. And I'm going to grab 5 dice. It is a -2 to AP. That brings the Immolator up to a 5+ save. So it was able to save 2. That's good. I don't have any miracle dice here to save. It's a 2 that I still have in my pool. It is 3 damage per. So we have 3, 6, 9 damage delivered to the Immolator by the Screamer Killer. That brings it from 11 wounds down to 2 wounds. It is going to be able to fight back here, but the tanks are not the best in hand-to-hand. You can kind of picture it rolling backwards and then rolling forwards to try to crush things with the Screamer Killer is pretty huge. So it does have an attack, though. It's called Armored Tracks for melee. So this is hitting on a 4+. 1 has hit. It is strength 6 versus toughness 9. Going to need a 5 to wound. Got a 4, so that is it. That combat is done, but you have just seen a Tyranid Screamer Killer take on an Immolator tank and reduced it to 2 wounds. I think the emulator is going to have that penalty too. I'm just going to check here to see if it's going to have a minimized hit roll from that. Nope, it does not look like it does. So that's a plus. It's still able to shoot as per normal because it's flamer, so that makes sense. Yeah, so I'll do a quick sum up here before we get on to the rest. So we still have the Canoness. No, she's staring down the Gene Stealers. We do have the Toxic Crane versus the other Battle Sister squad, but I'll kind of sum everything up that's happened, and we'll do that now. So this here was the one that was not in the dice tray. They did pretty well. There was one Battle Sister lost, but they were able to kill the Hormigaunt and push the Von Ryan's Leapers off. The Imagifier also went in there. The big thing was the saves that the Imagifier is giving them is that 4+ invulnerable, which is fantastic because usually it would be a much worse save for the sisters, but that was great. Over here, I thought that she was fighting, but she is not because she just finished off that Tyranid warrior. She is staring those Gene Stealers down, though. And this is the last one that we're going to get in the tray here. It is the Toxic Crane versus a Battle Sister squad in full. So this is a 10 sister squad still. And then we had this one in the tray just now. The Immolator has lost 9 wounds. It is down to 2 wounds. The Screamer Killer is also busted up with 7 wounds. I don't want to make a call yet, but it is looking like this one might go as a victory for the Sisters of Battle because it is going back to them after this melee turn. There's still quite a bit of fight left in those Tyranid, though, and it's possible that they might be able to kill some more models, but just overall, I don't think they have enough remaining to be able to actually finish the Sisters, but we'll see what happens. There's been a lot of times in these battles where things have done a complete 180, so that might be the case here too. But we're going to finish up that last melee there, the Toxic Queen and the Sisters of Battle, in the tray, and then we will move on to the Sisters of Battle, the 4th and final turn. Okay, here we go. So this might be an entire Battle Sister squad going down here, and as I say, might go 180, mattering on what happens here. I'm just checking everything in here too to make sure that I'm not missing any abilities. Yeah, so there is something called hypertoxic miasma, which I have to remember, and this is going to affect that Sisters of Battle squad and the Canoness. So I'll just read that. At the end of your movement phase, which has actually already happened, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of this model. On a 2 to 3, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 4 to 5, that unit suffers d3 wounds. On a 6, that unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. So the Battle Sisters are locked in hand-to-hand combat, so I don't think that that's going to affect them because they're fighting. The Canoness, though, is going to be affected by this. And to tell you the truth, the Mortifier is affected, the Rhino is affected, and the Paragon Warsuits are affected. So this might be that 180 that I was talking about. The Toxic Crane is a little bit slower too. It moves 8 inches compared to some of the faster models here at 12, so it's kind of lumbered along from the corner. There wasn't really any big weapons on it either. So we're going to start rolling here. So I'm going to roll for the Canoness. This might be the end of the Canoness, sadly. So again, it's 1d6, 6 inches within this model. So on a 2 to 3, 1 mortal wound, 4 to 5, d3 mortal wounds, and then on a 6. So we're wanting a 1 here for the Canoness. Worst 2 to 3, so let's see how it goes. And of course, no, it's got to be a 6. So this is going to be d6 mortal wounds delivered to the Canoness. And it is 5 wounds. Oh, Canoness Faheen. She was just starting to do it. She got her first unit kill. She is dead, so she's going to be getting a battle scar. That sucks. I do, however, get a miracle dice, so we'll do that while we're live. So that is the end of Canoness Faheen. I have rolled a 1, which is a terrible miracle dice roll. Poor Canoness Faheen. She just can't catch a break. So she has been removed. I'm just going to mark that she does need another battle scar. So she already has -1 to OC and -1 inch to move. Holy Dinah. And then we're not done yet here either. So this is going to be for the Mortifier. It is within 6 inches as well. So that is a 1. So nothing happened to the Mortifier. Has to be a 2 to 3 for something to happen. Now it's over to the Paragon Warsuits. And that is a 4. So on a 4 to 5, it's going to be d3 mortal wounds. So we're going to be splitting this dice in half. It's a 6. So that's 3 wounds delivered. That's not good, especially since these Paragon Warsuits are probably going to have to be in hand-to-hand combat soon. So one of the Paragon Warsuits, it's still going, but it's down to 1 wound, pretty beaten up. And that's from that miasmic cloud of crap that came out from the Toxicrene. So this thing's kind of like a Nurgle almost. Maybe they ate a Nurgle or something to create the Toxicrene, or I don't know, a greater demon of Nurgle maybe. I'm not sure, but it's got some similar sort of Nurgle-ish things to it. The Rhino as well is affected, so we're going to be rolling for that. It is a 4 as well, so that's going to be D3. Split this dice in half. So that is a 1, not as bad for the Rhino. And just the way that works, I know I've mentioned it a lot before, but a 6 is a 3, a 5 is a 3, a 4 is a 2, a 3 is a 2, and then a 1 and a 2 are a 1 when you do a D3 roll. There we go. So I just moved the Rhino's token from 10 down to 9. These Battle Sisters, it says anything that's within 6 inches, so it might be considered that, but since they're in hand-to-hand combat, I'm going to roll for them. And this thing is not done yet, and that's going to be huge because as this thing continues to move through the facility, there is still another Tyranid turn in turn 4, and that's actually going to finish up the game. So if by chance this thing gets slotted right in the middle of a whole bunch of units, they're going to be taking possibly some more mortal wounds. So we're going to grab 12 dice here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And I'm saying this here because it's in melee, so these sisters, I don't know, maybe they've put their rebreathers on or something to be able to help. This is hitting on a 3+. So if you fell off there, we have a 1, a 2, a 1, and a 1. So these are all done, which is good. It's 2 damage per at the end of all this too, and these are the massive toxic lashes. So this is its ranged attack as well, but it doesn't really have any range right now since it's in hand-to-hand combat, and that's what it can do. So it is strength 6 versus toughness 3 of the Battle Sisters, 2s to wound. Another one fell off, that's good. -1 to AP, that brings our Sisters of Battle up to, I'm going to roll these just so I don't grab the wrong amount, from a 3+ to a 4+ save. So we've got 3 saved, 6, 6, 5, those are good to go. These are all through, and then it's 2 damage per. So we have 2, 4, 6. We've lost 6 of the 10 Battle Sisters. They are going to be able to fight back here. I'm just going to remove them, so I'm making sure that I'm not attacking with more than what they have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's still a really big hit, though. There we go. The superior here has a chain sword, so she's going to be using that. And I'll get these sorted out in a sec. So we're going to start off with the superior's chain sword, hitting on a 4+. So 2 are through. It is strength 3 versus toughness 11. Need a 6 here. And got 1 6. Nice. No AP, so this is going to be a 3+ save. Saved it. And now underneath here, I'm just seeing 1, 2, 3 remaining sisters. They only have close combat weapons. This is going to be hitting on a 4+. Reminding me of my guardsmen with their 4+s. Luckily, the sisters have better shoots, but the hand-hand is the same. So this is strength 3 again, toughness 11. This is going to be 6 to wound. Nothing happened. So with that, the Toxicrene has been kind of knocked off the roof by the remaining 4 sisters, but it's still going to be in range there to probably affect them with that miasmic plasma or whatever the hell it was called. So we'll get to that next turn because it is going to be able to move, but there is 4 remaining from that 10 Battle Sister squad. They were not able to wound the Toxicrene, so it still has 14 wounds. And that is the end of Tyranid turn 3. We're now moving into the Adepta Sororitas final 4th turn. And that also means I get to roll another miracle dice. So we got 1 for Canoness Behin and another one here. Let's hope it's a high roll. And another 2. So the first battle I was rolling great. It was 5s and 6s for the most part. I can discard these, but 2-2-1 right now in my dice pool. So if I need to discard maybe for the Celestian Sacrosancts or for Fidelis again, I will do that. Yeah, so we're going to get back to the Adepta Sororitas here. They're going to do their move, their shoot, and then any hand-to-hand that may be happening. Adepta Sororitas movement phase done for turn 4. It is coming down to the wire here. Big moves here for, well, what can be considered big moves within a facility, but the Castigator wheeled around to lend some aid to the Immolator that take a lot of hits there from the Screamer Killer last turn. So the Immolator Flamers, the Heavy Bolter, Castigator Battle Cannon, 3 Heavy Bolters are all going to be firing on the Screamer Killer to hopefully wipe it out. If not, it is very possible that it might take one of those 2 tanks down. The Battle Sisters here have kept in their position. They're going to be firing down until the end of this fight at the Ripper Swarms and Von Ryan's Leapers. Over here, the remaining Repentia Sisters, Sister Superior, Mortifier, and Penitent Engine are going to be firing into the Toxicrene, as well as the remaining Sisters of Battle here. And if this thing moves in, it's very possible there's going to be more of those D6 mortal wounds delivered if it gets a high enough roll. Around here, Morvenval did not want to allow the Tyrant Guard and, more importantly, the Swarm Lord to get the initiative. So they have gone head first into hand-to-hand combat to take them on. That is definitely going to be rolled in the tray, and that is going to be an absolutely incredible melee fight. We have the Rhino here with the Storm Bolter. It's going to be firing into the Gargoyles. The Retributors as well as the Celestian Sacrosancts will also be doing the same, all firing into the Gargoyles. The Towered Heavy Bolters will be firing as well to try to help. So I think these 2 here are probably going to be firing down into the Toxicrene. This one here is also going to be lending a hand to fight the Screamer Killer. And then the one that is on the side here is probably going to be firing as well into the Gargoyles and the Winged Tyranid Prime. So I'm going to go over the tray, going to roll maybe half of those in the tray on camera and then half out. But if there's anything I think needs to be covered, we'll do that for sure. This one's almost done. This is it for the Sisters of Battle in this turn. So they have their shoot. They have their hand-to-hand combat now, and that is it for their turn 4. And then it switches back over to the Tyranid to finish this one off. So I'll show you guys the table there as soon as this shoot is done. Some pretty successful shoots actually by a lot of the force. So I'll sum that up all in a sec before we get into hand-to-hand combat. This, however, is the Castigator and Immolator versus the Tyranid Screamer Killer. So we're starting off with the Castigator Battle Cannon, D6 plus 3 to see how many attacks we're getting. So it's going to be 3 plus 3, so 6 in total. It is hitting on a 3 plus. 1 fell off. And in my Miracle Dice pool, just to recap that again, I have a 2, and a 1. I have not used any of those dice yet, but I plan to with Morvenval. These are all through. It is a Strength 10 versus Toughness 9, so this is going to be 3s to wound. 2 and a 1, those both fall off. 2 are through though, so I'm going to grab 3 purple dice to save. It is a -1 to AP. That brings the Screamer Killer up to a 3+ save. Save 2. 1 is through though, and that is 3 damage to the Screamer Killer. So just going to make sure the token is reflecting that. It goes from 7 wounds down to 4 wounds. There we go, and there's still a lot more weapons to be fired on this thing, so might be able to get a kill here. We'll have to see. Matters how the rolls all go. So there's the 3 Heavy Bolters on the Castigator, the 2 Sponson, and then the Hull Mounted. So I'll roll them one at a time, looking for 3 pluses. Okay. Okay, the last one here. So we have a 2 and a 1. Those are both out. All the others are through. The Heavy Bolter is Strength 5. It's going up against a Toughness 9, so we're going to need 5s to wound here. Hey, not bad, not bad. Picked up a few. So these are gone. 3 are through. It is a -1 to AP. So that is again going to be a 3+ save for the Screamer Killer. This time it saved all of them. The attacks are not done yet though. We still have the Immolator to use all of its weaponry. So I'll start off with the Heavy Bolter for the Immolator. 3 attacks hitting on a 3+. 1 fell off. Strength 5, Toughness 9, 5s to wound. Neither of those made it through. I don't have any Miracle Dice to swap in. So now we move over to the Immolation Flamers, 2d6. Let's see how many attacks we're getting. So 6, 2, 4, 6 dice. It is going to hit automatically. Strength 6, Toughness 9, 5s to wound again. Not as good. These all fell off. 1 is through. -1 to AP. 3+ save for the Screamer Killer. Did not save it, but it is 1 damage. So the Screamer Killer has taken some wounds there. Pretty good roll by our Adepta Sororitas tanks. The Screamer Killer has gone from 4 wounds down to 3. And now we're going to get into the hand-to-hand, but first I will sum up the shoot there from across the board, and I'll show you guys what happened. All right, so we'll start over here. The Gargoyles and Winged Tyranid Prime were taken out by the Celestine Sacrosancts, the Redemptors, and one of the Heavy Bolters up here, I believe, were the ones that did it. Heavy Bolters didn't fire very well for the rest. We just saw in the tray the Immolator and Castigator versus the Screamer Killer. The Screamer Killer is down to 3 wounds, but it is still alive, and those tanks are definitely in range. The Sisters of Battle here, fire down, were able to kill all of the Ripper Swarms, and then they were able to wound a Von Ryan's Leaper, so it is a Von Ryan's Leaper with 3 wounds and another with 1 wound, but they are also in leaping range, so that might be more models dead there. We'll have to see how the hand-to-hand goes, but that Imagifier buffing out that squad is going to be great for the saves. Down here was also another very successful round. So we had the Mortifier, the Penitent Engine, the Battle Sister squad here fire into the Toxic Rain, and they brought it down to 10 wounds. It does still have that ability, though, so it's going to be moving into the facility, and there's going to be a lot of possible mortal wounds happening. I am going to place it in the position where best I can do damage, so definitely going to be playing hard for the Hive Mind when it goes back to them. Gene Stealers here, nothing going on with them, but they are in range to probably jump into hand-to-hand with those Sisters of Battle next turn. We now move to this, which is the Lone Tyrant Guard, the Swarm Lord versus Morven Val, and the Paragon Warsuits. Going to be an epic hand-to-hand. I'm going to be getting Fidelis maxed out as much as I can again by discarding one of the Miracle Dice. This one's almost done. That is going to be the end of the Sisters of Battle turn after that hand-to-hand, so they really need to fight hard here because the initiative is going to switch back over to the Swarm Lord and the Tyrant Guard if it's still alive. So we'll see how that goes. The Sisters seem to be doing okay. They might survive this one. I don't think there's too many enemy units that are in range here. There are those Gene Stealers, though. They could jump into hand-to-hand with the Sacrosancts or the Redemptors there. And yeah, we'll get to the tray right now, and we are going to roll Morven Val, Paragon Warsuits versus Tyrant Guard and Swarm Lord. And I was calling them Redemptors. They are not Redemptors. They are Retributors. Anyways, we're going to get to Morven Val now. I'm going to start this off with her. So as per that ability, I've read it a couple times now, the Righteous Repugnance. I am going to be using that, and that is going to, just to rub it in the Tyranid face a little bit, I'm going to use the 1 to do that. So with that, she is going to be having 3s added to her attacks here for hand-to-hand combat for the phase. So that is fantastic, and that means that her usual 5 would go to 8 if I'm doing the strike, and then the sweep goes from 10 to 13. Because the toughness is so high on these models, I am going to use the Lance of Illumination strike profile, so it's 5 attacks turning into 8 with that ability. And this is going to be all against the Tyrant Guard. So we're going to see how that goes. Hopefully she can kill it off. So I'm just going to grab my dice here. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 3 for 8. It is hitting on a 2+. 1 fell off. You'd think those 2s would be easier, but not always. This is strength 8 versus toughness 8. So this is going to be 4s to wound. And she's got a few through there. These have fallen off. It is a -2 to AP. That brings the Tyrant Guard up to a 5+ save. Just going to grab 4 dice for them. And anything that is not saved here is 3 damage per. So 2 were saved. Not too bad by the Tyrant Guard. It was able to jump out of the way or take a block in the shoulder or something. There is 6 damage through, however. Those have all been allocated to the Tyrant Guard. It had 2 wounds remaining, so Morven Val has killed the Tyrant Guard. I'm just removing that model and making sure that its dice is out. And now we are relying on the Paragon Warsuits to take out the Swarm Lord here. I wanted to do it this way because I knew that that toughness 8 was going to be matched with the Lance of Illumination. Just going to get the Swarm Lord profile up here. Swarm Lord's toughness 10. And those Paragon Warsuits, let's see what they can do. All right, so here we go. Melee attacks. They do not get the bonus from Morven Val, so they have the regular. We're going to start off with the Paragon Warblade from the Paragon Warsuit Superior. 4 attacks hitting on a 3+. So 3 of those are through. And it is strength 8 versus toughness 10. Going to need 5s to wound. None wounded from the sword. So that sucks. However, there are 2 Paragon War Maces coming in at strength 12. So this is higher than the toughness of the Swarm Lord, which is going to hopefully mean some hits that are going to wound. So our first one here is going to be hitting on a 3+. 3 6s. That's what we needed. There we go. And then this is the second one hitting on a 3+. 1 fell off there. Not bad though. So it is again strength 12 versus toughness 10. 3s to wound. And 1 fell off again. It is a -1 to AP. That brings the Swarm Lord up to a 3+ save. This thing is a very good model. Here we go. So looking for 4s here, or 3s here, sorry, for the Swarm Lord. It has made 3 saves. 1 is through though, and the War Mace gives 3 wounds. So they have wounded the Hive Tyrant. It's gone from 10 wounds down to 7, but it is going to be able to counterattack here. Since I'm playing hard for both sides, I am going to be allocating any wounds that go through or damage to the Paragon War Suits. So here we go. The Swarm Lord has the Bone Sabers. They are twin linked, which means I can also re-roll those. Really good model. Really good model for melee. No range at all, but let's see its abilities too. It does have a Deadly Demise. Malign Presence, Domination of the Hive Mind. Yeah, so there's a bit of a buff out there, but it's not going to really work for this. It's more for Synapse and stuff like that. So this is hitting on a 2+. Wow, a lot of 1s. You'd think those 2s would be easy. They're not always. Strength 9 versus toughness 7 of the Paragon War Suits. 3s to wound. All those are through except for 1 again. It is a -2 to AP, so I'm going to remove these, get some red dice in here. That brings the Paragon War Suits up to their 4+ invulnerable. 1 was saved. 3, however, have gone through, and they're 3 damage per. So that is 3, 6, 9 damage allocated to the Paragon War Suits. That has killed them. So that is going to be another battle scar. There was 2 with 4 wounds, 1 with 1 wound. They had been injured earlier. So that is 9 wounds. The Paragon War Suits are out. And during this next turn that, Morvenn Vahl has been pushed back a bit there by the Swarm Lord, and it is the Swarm Lord with 7 wounds versus Morvenn Vahl with 8. And I think it's going to want to fight back for its Tyrant Guard. Yeah, so the Paragon War Suits have gone down again. They're going to be getting a scar, and now it is moving back over to the Tyranid to finish this one up. That is the end of the Adepta Sororitas. Now all they have to do is survive. So let's see how they do. All right, so this is it. The end of turn 4, the movement phase done by the Tyranid. The Screamer Killer wants to finish off what it started. It is back into hand-to-hand combat with that Immolator. Von Ryan's Leapers are the same. They have jumped in to take out those Battle Sisters. Very possible, if enough attacks come through, that it might kill them. The Magifier, though, is going to buff them out with that incredible save. This is very worrisome here. The Toxicrene has come in. All of these units are within 6 inches. So we have the Penitent Engine, the Sisters Repentia, the Mortifier, and the Rhino. Hand-to-hand combat up here, too, for these Sisters of Battle versus the Gene Stealers. Over here, the Hive Tyrant has gone into hand-to-hand combat against Morvenn Vahl. So these are the 2 Warlords duking it out in melee. And then over here, last but not least, we do have the Gene Stealers that have jumped in against the Celestian Sacrosancts. The Sisters of Battle have won this one, though, as the Retributors are still alive, as well as these Imperial Guard. So this is a victory for the Sisters of Battle. It is not over yet, though. The Tyranids still get their turn, and we are going to see if any battle scars are delivered to any of these units, which is going to affect them in future campaigns. And I also have to roll the Miracle Dice for my Paragon War Suits. Forgot to do that because they went down there against the Swarm Lord last turn. So we're going to get to the tray, start rolling some of this stuff. I think I'll probably roll it all. I'll try to break it up by going back and forth between the table here. Tyranid have never had to shoot the whole game, and the melee has come in, and we're going to get rolling some crazy melee here. So let's get it started. Might roll this one off camera. We'll see. But yeah, I'll think things over, come back, show you guys. And if we're going to be in the tray, we'll be in the tray for a couple of these fights. So let's get it on. All right, so we're going to start up here with the Screamer Killer. Those 10 attacks coming in, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Hitting on a 3+. These 3 have fallen off. Not looking good for the Immolator, but we'll see what happens here. It is Strength 10 versus Toughness 10. It's going to be Force to Wound. And a few fell off. Actually, more than 50% fell off, so there is a chance here. -2 to AP. That is going to be a 5+ save for the Immolator. Save 2. It's a couple 6s. This, however, was not saved. That is 3 damage through. That is the end of the Immolator. I just have to see. It does have a Deadly Demise, so I'm going to be rolling that right now. Roll it with a black dice. Why not? So the Deadly Demise is, this thing's got definitely fuel canisters in it because it's a big flamethrower tank. So that's been penetrated, and we're seeing what kind of explosion is going to happen here. And it might actually... it might actually hurt the Retributors, mattering how far this is. The Castigator is definitely in there, as well as the Screamer Killer. So let's see what happens. So just to read this, the core ability. So some models have Deadly Demise X. In this case, it is D3, listed in their abilities. When such a model is destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing it from play. If such a model is a transport, there's no embarked models in here, so we don't have to worry about that. On a 6, each unit within 6 inches of that model suffers a number of mortal wounds denoted by the X. So if it's a 6 here, that means that this thing explodes. And luckily it did not, so it just exploded. Nothing else was affected by it. I'm going to remove it from play here. It is out. It is getting a battle scar. This is why I kept this game going too. I know it sucks that the sisters are still going to be taking battle scars, but that's the way that this works. I also have to roll a miracle dice for the Immolator. So 1, another terrible dice roll. And I forgot for the Paragon Warsuits too. So this is for the Paragon Warsuits. And that's a 3. So not much better. I have a big pool here. I have 4 dice, but they're all low. I have 1, 2 2s, and a 3. Morvenval does still have that locked in for the hand-to-hand there against the Swarmlord. So yeah, I'll break this up a little bit. I'm going to show you guys the other combats there in just a sec, and then we'll get back to the tray if necessary. So there it is, the Screamer Killer victorious. It has just taken a tank out that it wounded previously. That is the end of its turns, though. There's still some hand-to-hand going. I'm probably going to roll this one now off camera. I'll let you guys know how that happens, how that goes. This one off camera. The Gene Stealers over here as well, I'll roll off camera. I think I'm going to get the Toxicrenes attack on there because that might be pretty devastating to some of these models. And then I will finish up the game with the Swarmlord versus Morvenval and see if she can kill this thing or if it will kill her. All right, so before I go and sum up that shoot, the hand-to-hand combat, the Tyranid attacked, but there were some counterattacks done there. The Battle Sister squad, being led by the Imagifier, did fantastic. They lost a lot of models, but they were able to fight back, kill a 1 Rhine Sleeper, and wound another one. This one, however, is the Hypertoxic Miasma from the Toxicrene, and it is affecting 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And again, this one is the roll of a d6, and it is going to be an auto hit other than a 1. So we're going to see what happens here. This is for the Rhino. So that's a 1. Nothing happened. That's good. The Mortifier is a 6. So on the roll of a 6, it's going to be d6 mortal wounds. That is 4 wounds to the Mortifier. I'm going to go indicate that, the Mortifier is still alive. It has 1 wound left. So it has survived that toxic miasma. The Sisters Repentia are up next. So all that remains there is 1 Sister Repentia and the Superior. We're going to see what happens to them. It is a 2, so that is 1 mortal wound. That is the end of the Sister Repentia. Just going to remove her. The Sister Superior is still alive, though. So those Repentia have done their job. They have died for the Emperor. They have been sort of, I don't want to say sanctified, but they've done what they're supposed to do. And then lastly here, we have the Penitent Engine. That is a 5. and that means that there is one. This is going to be D3 mortal wounds. I'm going to split this dice in half. That's 2 through. I believe the Penitent Engine has also survived, so it has 2 wounds remaining. It has survived the battle as well. I'm going to go over to the table there, sum that up, and then we're going to get to this final fight between Morven Val and the Swarmlord. So that was actually pretty phenomenal, because that could have been a lot more battle scars delivered here at the end of the game. So the Toxicrene came in, did its toxic miasma, was able to wound some of the units, but was not able to kill any. Over here, these are those battle sisters. They lost 5 sisters during that fight. They were able to kill one Vanzorian Leaper, though, and wound the other, knocking it off the tower. Screamer Killer destroyed the Immolator, so that is a battle scar there. Gene Stealers killed the Battle Sister squad up here. Yeah, and just like the reason that they're still alive is because of that Imagifier. You can see what happened to a unit with no Imagifier, and they took, probably the same amount of melee attacks. These ones faced Hormagaunts, Von Ryan's Leapers, a whole bunch of stuff, and they're still going, and that's because of that buff out from her. So fantastic character. Over here, we have the Celestine Sacrosanct. I still have to roll them, so we're going to do that. I'll probably sum that up when I do the roll off for these two. Hopefully the Sacrosancts don't get killed here. If the Hospitaller is still alive, she can bring them back to there by the end of the game, so there's no battle scar. And then we'll get over to this one. So yeah, I'm glad I did a little round table there to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So I'm going to roll this one off camera and just fill you guys in as soon as I start the phase there. The big fight, though, is going to be the 2 warlords versus each other, and that's coming up in just a second. So I hope this trend doesn't continue. I am sad to pass along that the Celestine Sacrosancts, as well as the Hospitaller, fell to the Gene Stealers. The Gene Stealers are crazy in hand-to-hand combat. It was 20 attacks coming in from 5 models. They got almost every attack through, -2 to AP, which brought them up to that 4+. There was the Feel No Pain 5+, but there was just too many attacks, and a total of 8 damage was administered from those almost 20 attacks. So that means that all the Sacrosancts have 1 wound. That was 5. The Hospitaller has 3. That was 8, so she's gone. So that is some more battle scars here at the end of the fight for 2 of my pretty damn good units that have been holding it down. This, however, is everything. It is the Swarmlord with the initiative versus Morven Val, who is the warlord for the Sisters of Battle here. The Swarmlord, as we saw earlier, tore the Paragon Warsuits apart. So we're going to see if Morven Val can do any better. It gets 8 attacks right off the bat, and it is starting here with the initiative, hitting on a 2+. That was the other thing with the Gene Stealers. They hit with a 2+ with 20 attacks. Like, it's very, very difficult to try to survive that if you're not, I don't know. I don't even think Space Marines could survive that, to tell you the truth. Just way too many attacks. So here we go, though. This is the Swarmlord. It is Twin Link 2. That's going to happen on the wound roll. But we're going to roll here to see how many hits actually get through. So there's 2 1s. That's good for Morven Val. So these 2 fell off. These are through. It is a strength 9 versus toughness 7. So this is going to be 3s to wound, and I can reroll these. So we have 4 through. These 2 get to be rerolled because it is twin linked. And luckily, again, Snake Eyes, so those attacks did not wound. 4, however, are through. Switch it out for our red dice here. It is a -2 to AP, so that brings Morven Val up to her 4+ invulnerable. She has saved 2. However, 2 have gone through. That is 3 damage per, so we have 6 damage. You know what, though? Morven Val has 8 wounds, so she still has 2 remaining. She's still alive, and she is going to be able to fight back here. Fidelis is also still rolling with those 3 extra attacks because of the Miracle Dice discard. I still have quite a pool behind me, too. I'm not going to be able to use them before the end of this fight, but they weren't high rolls. I couldn't really sub them in with anything. But this is Morven Val. I'm choosing to do the Lance of Illumination strike profile. Usually 5 attacks is going to be 8 attacks, hitting on a 2+. So she's no slouch in hand-to-hand either. Great addition to this force. Strength 8 from that profile against toughness 10, 5s to wound. Oh, and she's on fire here at the end of the game. So 2 have fallen off. Great rolls other than that. 4 6s, 2 5s, -2 to AP. I'll use these dice to roll for the Swarmlord's save. So it usually has a 2+. This is a -2 to AP. That brings the Swarmlord up to a 4+ save. So it saved quite a few as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's saved. However, this is 3 damage per, very similar to those Bone Sabers from the Swarmlord. So the Lance of Illumination in that Paragon Warsuit, powered up, has done 3, 6, 9 damage. Morven Val has killed the Swarmlord as it only had 7 wounds left. So with that, the Sisters of Battle have won this. That is the end of the game. The Tyranid fought super hard. They did not have any range as per the penalty I gave them at the start. They did have a force that was 600 plus more points than the Sisters of Battle, but I'm going to bring it to the table now. We're going to show you who's left from both sides, and maybe I'll show you guys the dead Sisters of Battle too, because it was a great one for some experience points. They were able to kill a lot of light armored units at the start, but then as the bigger units started to take over, there was a lot of battle scars. So let's get to the table and I'll show you guys who remains. All right, so we're going to start over here. From this side of the table, we still have the 5 Gene Stealers that absolutely shredded the Celestine Sacrosancts and the Hospitaller. We have the Retributor squad above them still alive. If this had gone another turn, I think the Tyranid probably would have taken it, because those Gene Stealers would have probably shredded the Retributors. There would have been some shoots there, though. And you can't really guess at this because you never know what could have happened, what kind of rules could have occurred. Down here, the Screamer Killer did survive. It was really busted up. It had 3 wounds left. It was facing off against the Castigator. It did kill the Eliminator. There was still some Ripper Swarms there too. Down here, I think the Sister of Battle squad would have probably fallen if the turn had gone one more. That Imagifier, though, has been absolutely phenomenal for the Sisters of Battle and for this Battle Sister squad. The Von Rein's Leaper there is still alive, as are the Venom Thropes. Over here, this Toxicrene, if it could move a bit faster, it could have got in a lot sooner and done that crazy Toxic Miasma attack and probably just started to pick units off one by one by one. It is still alive, though. It still had 10 wounds remaining. They were able to bring it down from its initial 14. The Sororitas Rhino, the Mortifier, the Sister Repentia Superior, and the Penitent Engine are all still alive there, but quite busted up. The Superior is all that remains of her squad. The Mortifier has 1 wound, and the Penitent Engine has 2. The Gene Stealers up here are still alive as well. They would have probably jumped down on Morven Val, and that might have been a pretty crazy fight because those are 20 dice rolls again, hitting on a 2+. Not the greatest strength, but with that many attacks coming in, Morven Val may have been taken down. There she is, Morven Val, the warlord of this force. She just defeated the Swarmlord, which you guys saw on camera. There she is. She took it with her Lance of Illumination. And Fidelis also held true. She's a really good warlord for an army. She could probably hold her own against a lot of different forces out there, Xenos and Chaos Space Marine. And guess what? There's more of those coming up. So I'll cover that in just a second. I don't think I'm going to do a sum up of all the battle scars. I'll make sure that that's all accurate. So I'm going to have to delve those out. -1 to OC, -1 to move. There might actually be some other stuff now where there's some really bad ones where you can't buff out a unit. So if a battle scar was received too many times and they're on to their 3rd or 4th battle scar, it's possible that the Imagifier can no longer buff these guys out, that kind of thing. That Battle Sister squad that was over there fighting the Gene Stealers might actually be in that case. But yeah, this is a fantastic one. My vacation turned into a staycation, so I was able to start this narrative crusade, get 3 battles out for it. This is the 3rd. I am going back to work tomorrow, hoping to continue to shoot these, but they probably won't be coming out as frequently. Thank you guys again, though, for spending some time with me, for hopefully enjoying this, and I'll be back in just a second before we sign off here to let you guys know what the next fight is. So there we go. Pretty good shot to do the little sum up here again. So that was a win for the Adepta Sororitas. From that, they go 2-1 with 3 battles under their belt. Their next fight is going to be another test. This will be an even battle, though. There's not going to be a massive point difference for the forces here, and they will be taking on Cornate Berserkers, Corn Demons, mattering on what kind of army I put together. The Sisters of Battle are currently at 1,590 points, so just under 1,600. I don't think I'm going to use requisitions to give any more troops out. I need to start removing some of these battle scars before it becomes way too tough to use this force. The background for this fight is going to be, it's just like an old school stop the summoning battle. So there's going to be Khorne attempting to summon a massive bloodthirster. You guys will see that model when I get it going. I'm going to probably place it in an old terrain pillar piece that I have, which is pretty cool. It looks very summonish. And the victory indicators for that next battle are: the Sisters of Battle must wipe out all Khorne models to stop the Bloodthirster summoning. If they do not, they lose and Khorne wins. I'm not sure if I'm going to do 4 or 5 turns for that. We're going to have to see. I have to measure at the table, see how fast the units can move, because I do want to make it fair. And again, the points are going to be 1,600 versus 1,600, just to make sure that that's as fair as possible. It's going to be a really good one. I'm very excited, hoping that I can maybe get Angron out. We'll have to see. And Morvenn Vahl versus Angron. Angron might be out of her league, but we'll see what you can do. Maybe with those Paragon Warsuits, they can help out. But I have to build the forces, build the table. I might use the same battle map that this one was actually on and just kind of change that out. So a lot of stuff to plan for. Thank you guys again for watching Finnigan 40K. This is the Adepta Sororitas Battle Sisters, Sisters of Battle Crusade Narrative, Battle 3, which is a win. I'm going to step away, add up all these points, see where everybody's at. And then from there, we'll get the next one going as soon as we can. Please like, subscribe, and check out my website, www.finniganproductions.ca, because I don't just do Warhammer, a lot of film projects, other stuff like that. Always lots of stuff on the go. This really balances me out between my work life and kind of my quality of life. So yeah, very important. And thank you guys for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.